Good afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is right now. I am Chris, and welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a lot of really funny topics, so get ready for it because we just have... Well, there's a couple things you should be aware of. Number one, if you're around kids, you should not be watching this. You should save this till later because a lot of the videos that we're going to be playing today are unedited until I get them ready for the main podcast where I'll beep out the words and everything. So these videos are going to be uncensored in the meantime, but they are hilarious. We're going to be going over from the Gamestop incident, and if you don't know what that is yet, you will, and I don't want to ruin the surprise for you. We're going to go over the vape shop incident that also happened around the same time, which is also hilarious. We're also going to be going into multiple other entertainment stories as well to start off the podcast today. But our main story today will actually be the incident of the cop being killed by the illegal immigrant and all the stories kind of surrounding that, all the arrests that have been made so far, what the sheriff said about California's immigration laws, how Chris Pratt again is making the news and liberals are attacking him for sticking up for the cop, as well as a couple other things going along with that. So if you're ready for a fun podcast, get ready. This is the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. Thank everyone for joining me today. If you're watching right now, you're watching on Facebook Live. We are recording a little bit earlier this week, and this is maybe falling into what the schedule typically is on Mondays or Tuesdays because my work schedule is a little bit off for Wednesday through Saturday, so I won't be able to do it during that time frame. But I appreciate you following right now. If you're tuning in, certainly join in the conversation on Facebook. You can chat with me, and I will answer things live on the podcast, kind of like our version of calling in since we don't have that set up yet. You can comment, question me, doesn't really matter. But one of the main things I want you to do in the meantime is head over to the Facebook page and hit like on the Generation Y Conservative, and also get notifications. That way you know when we go live so you can participate if you're listening to this podcast later in the audio or video form and you're a little too late to get involved on the live version. Also, if you are tuned in right now, head over to the more important page for me, which is the YouTube channel, and you can actually see at the bottom right there, youtube.com/Gen Y Conservative, and hit subscribe and the bell to get notifications for that as well. You'll get the actual podcast there, as well as the movie reviews that we do, the gun spotlights that we've been doing with Relic Hunter Firearms here in Copley, Pennsylvania, and a couple other things that we're working on as well. So certainly tune in for that because that's a lot of fun. Also on Twitter, you can follow me at Gen Y Conservative if you ever want to interact with me there. Sometimes the interactions that happen on Facebook and YouTube don't translate over onto Twitter, and we have different things going on over there, so you might want to tune in there. But all these places where you can actually see the different types of stories and topics that we find interesting and that we go over there. We do not have Mike with us as a co-host today. The studio, I've been working on a little extra something for him for when he gets back. So this little area right here will change and benefit the both of us for that when he comes back on. Also, if you're interested in the audio-only portion of the podcast, you can always tune in to KLRN Internet Radio on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m., where they have also put me onto iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Spreaker. And I believe if you search a couple other ones, wherever you typically subscribe to podcasts, you can search for the Generation Y Conservative Podcast and subscribe to them there. Eric says hi. Hi, Eric. How's it going? Eric, by the way, started up his own... Eric was a guest host on one of the podcasts a couple podcasts ago within the winter time frame here so far, and he started up his own page, and it's the Conservative... You have to tell me, Eric. Tell me what it is in the comments there, and I'll mention it for you. What we got here? We got a lot of people joining. Well, that's good. I guess during the day, maybe it's a little bit better. So, I will let you know as soon as he lets me know what the conservative page is that he started up. So maybe I kind of kicked him into gear there and got his interest flowing for it, which is always nice to have more people. It's not competition. It's getting the truth out there from our side here. Okay, so by the way, I have my Philadelphia Eagles cup here. I'm celebrating that. So we did make the playoffs despite the odds against us. The Bears had to lose. The Eagles had to win. And it all kind of came together in the end there with Nick Foles as our quarterback. So we're going to the Super Bowl. I guess there's a couple steps in between there and everything, but that doesn't really matter. We're going to the Super Bowl. Okay, so also, let's see here. In the break today during the podcast between our first segment of topics and the latter portion, which is mostly our main political topics, that break period is actually covered now by Relic Hunter Firearms as kind of the sponsor of the program with a gun spotlight. Last week we've done the 6-hour MPX, which was awesome. If you go onto my Facebook page right now, it's not a scam. There is a contest going on for another company that is giving away a 6-hour MPX. I would encourage you to go over to my page or to my Twitter, where I've posted it a couple times. Hit the link to that and enter the contest to win a 6-hour MPX. That was actually one of the most fun firearms I've fired. It was actually a lot of fun. Also, after the MPX, we did the Glock 19X, which was really nice. That would be a great sidearm. And last week, we did the FN57, which is a incredible firearm. Okay. And he's saying, Eric, you're saying that the video and audio is a little bit off there. I understand. That's just the Facebook Live stream issues there and everything. So when we do come out with the YouTube version, you can always tune in there. So what I was saying there is that we actually have last week the FN57, which is just a crazy powerful firearm. It's not so much the gun itself, but the type of ammo that it uses, that Congress actually tried to ban the ammo or the gun itself because it's armor piercing if you get a certain type of ammo. So that was pretty incredible. This week, we are going over a semi-automatic shotgun with a unique barrel system that holds up to 16 shells of whatever variant of shell that you want for the shotgun. So it's actually really cool. And you could see the target was a little bit ripped up once we got done with it. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to go into here is the Netflix entertainment. On Netflix side, this is according to CNN Business, it says Netflix says more than 45 million accounts have watched Bird Box, but the figure needs an asterisk. The reason why I brought up this article is mainly to talk about where we're going as a society with entertainment and the numbers, because a lot of times you'll actually see the numbers are drastically down from what they used to configure for what TV networks had tuning in at the time for their networks, and they would judge that. Back before Netflix and all these other streaming services, you were getting tens of millions of people tuning into these late night programs, especially the night shows like Johnny Carson and stuff like that. That was way back in the day. If you're in my generation, you might be on the verge of not knowing who that is. But they would base how far and how long a show would run based on the viewership numbers and everything. But with Netflix and all these other streaming services, it's hard to tell how many people actually not only tuned in, but stayed tuned in, watched through the whole episode, only watched a little bit. And 45 million accounts watching Bird Box is a large number, especially for the numbers that Netflix typically responds with for all their shows. But a lot of people in the entertainment industry are asking how exactly those numbers are actually told to the public. Is it just tuning in for a little bit, or is it watching the whole movie through? That's a good question. I don't know where we're going to go with this, because this is a whole new medium as far as where TV seasons are going. If you're watching something on Netflix, like any of the Marvel series, or The Ranch is a great conservative TV show and everything on there. It's a little vulgar though. They release whole seasons at one time. So it's hard to tell, should we keep on going with the season or end it that season, when you actually have to record a whole season and then just release it for people basically like myself and my wife to binge watch those on Netflix. Now, If you are interested in the movie itself, Bird Box, that's starring Sandra Bullock right now, and actually has quite a few other really famous people that show up in it for brief amounts of time, I would highly recommend that you go and watch it. Before it was actually released, a lot of people were saying that this was a ripoff of A Quiet Place. I was going into it thinking I was going to hate it because of that. I thought, okay, A Quiet Place dealt with sound and monsters and everything. This is dealing with putting a blindfold on and trying to not look at the monsters and everything. I thought, well, how far can you really go with the same concept and everything? It is not the same. It's actually really great. I wouldn't consider it a scary movie per se, unless I would consider it a thriller suspense. Only a horror in the fact that, and this isn't giving too much away at all, when you see the monster, which they never show, you see and perceive your worst fear. So the horror is in knowing that if you were to ever see this beast, that your fear would be manifested in front of you, and it would make you want to kill yourself, basically. So it's a really interesting concept, really great acting in it, and I thought the concept of Sandra Bullock as a mother and how she approached that, not wanting to be a mother, was just really fantastic. And I thought the ending was actually quite satisfying myself too, to show in this situation, under these circumstances, who would actually survive, and that was really great. So that is Bird Box. I would recommend that you go and watch it. If I were to give it a score, I would give it a 7 out of 10, to be honest with you, just because based on the concept and everything. Eric says he hasn't seen it yet, but it looks like a cross between A Quiet Place and The Happening. The Happening. I'm trying to think what The Happening was. Was that the Mark Wahlberg movie? I'm not sure. But yeah, there is a little bit of A Quiet Place in there, and it is pretty good. Okay, so we got Bird Box out of the way. Another thing in entertainment that I thought was really interesting that you might be interested in is on Netflix as well, is Black Mirror. If you haven't watched any of the Black Mirror seasons yet, if you are a fan of conservative talk like this and everything, and basically predicting where society is going, Black Mirror as a show is individual in its episodes, yet has an underlying tying line to all of them that connects all of them. So it's really interesting. Some symbolism will show up in other shows that relates to the other shows. And that's kind of the idea behind the newest one, which was a standalone movie that was released right after Christmas there called Bandersnatch. And the interesting thing about this is that on Netflix, you always have to have your remote available for this, because it's a choose your own path adventure basically for the movie. So as the movie's going on, you have a bunch of different choices that you can pick from to flow the movie into different areas and everything. Personally, myself, I wasn't a big fan of the Bandersnatch movie as a whole. It was interesting to go through once, but I don't find myself doing it again. At the end of your kind of little adventure that you go on yourself, it gives you the option to go back to certain points and choose different paths. So I kind of chose a couple ones that led me down different areas, and I thought that the overall premise of it was interesting, and I would encourage you to do that after the movie's over, after you go through your own little adventure, because it all just kind of ties up into a neat package. I don't know if I necessarily like that for this movie. I would actually recommend that you go back and watch the Black Mirror seasons, though, because there's a lot of things that they predict that technology will do and take over in certain aspects of our lives that is really scary, that you think, oh my gosh, like I could see that happening, but not for quite a while. Well, one of those episodes, and I wish I knew which episode it was, is actually a social media rating system, right? And everybody rates each other with their social media, and if you fall below a certain rank, you're unable to get plane tickets, you're unable to get certain services available to you, you're basically banished in your own social circles from interacting until you raise your score. And it actually stars the woman that was in the most recent Jurassic World movies, the redhead, I forget her name too, that stars alongside Chris Pratt, that we'll be talking about later. But you think I could actually see that happening because we are so connected with each other through social media that this is a possibility, right? But you don't see it really happening. Right now in China, this is a system that is going into place, that they are actually rating people on social media and that you are unable to get certain services and obtain certain social levels in China without this social media rating system that they're implementing over there. And you can actually find videos of people on their subway system that are hearing over the loudspeaker from the subway system that you should be acting like this, you should be acting like this, or you should be afraid of your rating going down. It's terrifying that this Black Mirror episode is actually coming to life in China. It's really disturbing. So go back and watch the Black Mirror series. I know some people don't like the fact that it's mostly British actors in the first couple seasons, and then they tie in some American actors, but I guarantee it's well worth it. The first episode gets a little squeamish because of a certain pig scene, I'll be honest with you. But if you want to skip that and go to any other episode, they're all different episodes, and I would highly recommend it. Okay, one of the upcoming seasons that I'm really excited about releases this month, now that it's January. Happy New Year, by the way. The Punisher Season 2 is coming out and will obviously be canceled as soon as it comes. As soon as that's released, they're probably going to announce that it was canceled, along with all the rest of the Marvel shows that we've been seeing go by the wayside now. Here's a headline, though, from comicbook.com. The Punisher Season 2 villain is an alt-right Christian fundamentalist. Fantastic, right? So as if we're not taking a beating enough in the media when nothing on our side is actually being done wrong, and it's everything on the other side, from the Antifa people beating the hell out of their own people, like Bernie Sanders supporters, and anyone that they find with a Trump paraphernalia on, but they want to attack Christians in this case instead. It says the first season of The Punisher saw the Marvel vigilante going up against a corrupt CIA operative and a former ally who conspired to kill his family. But the latest villain in the Netflix series will be a slightly more topical. In a new report from Collider, we finally learned more about Frank Castle's latest foe for The Punisher Season 2, a character named John Pilgrim, played by actor Josh Stewart. The villain has been described as alt-right, a term that's associated with white nationalism and extreme conservatives. I'm going to stop them right there. I would ask this writer to do a little bit of research, first of all, and actually define what alt-right means, because alt stands for alternative right, okay? Has nothing to do with it. We actually just discussed this within the last couple of podcasts about the difference between those alt-right white nationalist people that showed up in Charlottesville and did those atrocious things, fighting back against Antifa people who were also doing atrocious things. White nationalists and alt-right people believe in a large centralized government that controls everything for the people under different pretexts, right? For white nationalists, they want a strong centralized government that adheres and caters to the white population. That is the exact opposite. Both socialism, which that falls under, or more closely aligns to, and this white nationalist mentality and alt-right mentality fall in a same category of a larger centralized government, whereas conservatives believe in a small government that's less involved in the people and does the basic functions of government without interfering in our lives and our freedoms and liberties. So they're completely opposite, but they try to tie these things together in the media as much as possible with the alt-right and white nationalists to conservatism, to give conservatism a bad name so that no one even listens to the policies and ideas of it, because then obviously if people start listening to things and start getting it and understanding it and start learning instead of start spewing the same things back that they hear from the media, then people start learning, and we wouldn't want people to actually start doing that. It says on the exterior, John Pilgrim is a man who is a Christian fundamentalist who has had a violent side of him, Stewart said. It's buried deep. I think where this is all headed, that sort of side of him is going to resurface a bit. Pilgrim is said to contrast Billy Russo, who will also return for season 2 as a creepier and more uptight foe for Castle. So I really don't know what to tell you in this case. One of the good pieces of news I did hear in regards to the Marvel franchise is that seems to be a fluctuating back and forth for Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, and then the Punisher series to possibly go to Disney's new streaming service, and that's been thrown around back and forth quite a few times, and I don't know if that's actually going to end up happening, but I hope it does, and that they can continue with this stuff. I just want this topical, as they put it, stuff to stop. I don't necessarily want to even sit through a TV or a movie that bashes liberals constantly at all. I just want to be entertained. Okay, I tune into this kind of stuff to get away from what's going on in the world, not tune in to just beat a certain issue into my head even more. So you're just backing up this false narrative on conservatives, and you're turning off half of your audience. As a matter of fact, I would think the Punisher, a guy who's not even, he's a hero, he's not a superhero, he doesn't have any super abilities. The guy's an ex-soldier and uses an array of the biggest firearms you can find to blast away a body count that you can't count on all your digits in one episode to get rid of the bad guys. And do you really think that you're actually going to be catering to a liberal audience that thinks we should be using squirt guns with perfume on villains, or are you catering to the conservatives that are going to love every single bullet shot that goes through during that TV show? So I was about to say that you're alienating half of your audience. I believe you're probably alienating about 70% of your audience if you start going down this road of labeling the right as villains in the show.
I'm part of the Chevy family. We're part of the Chevy family too.
So, talking and staying with the entertainment issue, we actually have an article from The Hill right now that Blaze TV, we actually talked about this 2 podcasts ago, Glenn Beck's media company, The Blaze, joined together and merged with Mark Levin's CRTV and brought all those hosts together and everything for a big conservative channel. And it's actually, I think, really good news that to have all those conservatives in one spot and have just a running commentary on a station without repeats throughout the day. And it's well worth the subscription price at this point. But unfortunately for the newly formed Blaze TV, it's not The Blaze, it's just Blaze TV now. It's been dropped from Verizon Fios as of right around Christmas time. So those of you that have Verizon Fios are no longer able to find that. They're bringing this down to a type of numbers game, and that it just didn't add up in the numbers for them to hold on to the station, even though I think Glenn Beck has even said over the past couple of years that they've been having trouble with their subscriptions. They were trying to get things under rule. Personally, I think I know what the problem was because I was dealing with some people from the Blaze just on a personal interaction at higher levels, but they don't seem to be working there anymore. Hopefully he's turning the station around. Hopefully he has more unique things going that people will now start tuning in now that Mark Levin's crew is also there. Eric said about the Punisher villain Pilgrim, how fitting. Absolutely, you're right. Okay, if you have your kids watching right now, have them tune out for a little bit because there is going to be a little bit of cursing here. But this is entertainment. I would say entertainment, right? We go to video games, not necessarily video games, just a video game store at Gamestop, and a transgender woman walks in. They start filming the disagreement after whatever the heck happened, but yeah, let's take a look.
We're not doing credit. You're gonna give me my money back.
Excuse me, sir. There's a young man in here.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
I can call the police if you'd like me to. You need to settle down.
You need to settle down and mind your business, okay?
Both of you guys?
Ma'am, once again, ma'am.
I said both of you.
No, you said sir. Once again, it's ma'am.
I actually said both of you guys. It was in general.
Right beforehand, you said sir.
Sir? Okay.
Motherfucker, take it outside. If you want to call me sir again, I will show you a sir.
I apologize.
Motherfucker.
I apologize now.
I need your corporate number because I'm going to call them and talk about how it's misgendered several times in this store.
I apologize for that.
I need your corporate number now.
I can get it for you.
Get it for me now.
I can do that. I'm going to ask you to calm down and stop cussing.
Give me your
Stop
corporate
hitting
number.
destroying property.
Well, I'm going to ask you for the 5th time to stop calling me a man, because quite clearly I am not.
And I apologize. I'm sorry for that, ma'am. I will get you that number. Is that okay?
Yes,
I'm
get it
just
for me
asking-
now.
I'm asking you to stop
Get it
cussing.
for me now. I'm not cussing. I'm not cussing.
Okay.
Give me the damn number now, please. Ooh!
Ma'am, I apologize.
Ooh!
I apologize, ma'am. I will get you that number right now.
No, you're just gonna keep bumping your gums. You're just gonna keep bumping your gums and disrespecting trans people in this store, which I plan on telling the entire LGBTQ community. You're going to lose money over this.
Sir, calm your tits, okay? This is there's so much going on here with this video. First of all, oh my gosh, okay. The woman, okay. A lot of people are saying it takes a lot more than a pink shirt and pink shoes to be a woman. And in my opinion, listen, you want to be identified as a woman and be identified as ma'am, that's fine. Try a little. And like I said, pink shoes and pink shirt isn't really doing it for this one. If you're speaking like that, which isn't very ladylike, especially in the tone of it, stop it. You know, you sound like a pro wrestler going at it and everything. You're not even trying at that point. And I said on Facebook, this woman doesn't even have a "I want to speak to your manager" haircut, for crying out loud. So how are we supposed to take her seriously? On top of that, she asked for the corporate number. And what's going to happen when you get the corporate number, right? Yes, I want to talk to a supervisor because I'm really pissed off about what happened in this GameStop locally. Okay, sir, if you could just hold on a second. Ooh! So
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so.
yeah, Bill Frankie's joining in here. He said that was great. I watched that multiple times. I just could not get enough of it. I'm sorry if you are a supporter of the LGBT community and the transgender community and everything, but even, listen, when it comes to comedians and everything, they take real topics and they break it down into comedy and everything, and this is just comedy gold, for crying out loud. You cannot, even within that community, take a look at this video and not think that this is actually pretty funny, because I didn't hear the GameStop employee say anything about sir. He may have misgendered at the time, but if we're going to be serious here for a second, imagine if you are behind the counter and you have this individual come up to you that's clearly half dressed like a woman, yet speaking to you like a man, right? And that's kind of the point that we've been talking about in all these podcasts about you can't get mad at people for misgendering you when there's so much stuff to be thought about that you can't even understand until you start talking to that individual, unless we start out every single conversation with, before we start, how would you like to be gendered, right? Because in this case, you look like you're trying to be a woman, but you're speaking like a man. How, as a person, am I supposed to be here behind the counter and address you? What would you like me to address you as? So you take a wild shot at it, right? And if you screw up, you have someone going on a roid rage out at you. If it's a transgender woman and everything. What the other funny part is, on the way out of the store, she goes, "I'm going to tell the LGBT community all about this, and you guys we're gonna raise hell with it," right? Well, the reason why she said LGBT community is because if she had gone through the whole acronym for LGBT, she would have been standing there in the doorway for 2 minutes. The LGBTQIA 2+ parentheses minus sign, like just going through everything. And oh my gosh, it was fantastic to watch that video. That will keep you entertained for quite a while. Here's what I can imagine. I imagine that this GameStop employee got in trouble, and I don't think that he should have. And I say he, but I don't know what he identifies as, so we can't really go down that road either, right? But this person goes on a rampage through the store, kicking stuff around and everything. Not very ladylike, so we'll see. So far, all the media I've seen in regards to this has actually been against this transgender woman for what she was doing. Not many people supporting her. I had a story here that doesn't seem to be loading up for some reason. It says, this is according to Daily Wire, transgender woman wins a discrimination suit after a football team cut her from the football team. Okay, so what happened was after they found out that this woman was actually previously a man, they decided to cut her from the team, and this transgender woman won a $20,000 lawsuit against them, saying that it was discriminatory for them to be cutting her from the team. But the fact of the matter is when you look at these sports situations that we've been covering over and over again, where the MMA fighter that is a transgender woman hits her opponent and fractures her skull, okay, and puts her in the hospital because of that, the makeup, what we're called the science deniers, right? But the makeup, the biological makeup of a male and female are completely different. Men have denser, bigger bone structures than women, and women are more fragile in most cases. Now, if you want to take the exception to the case and use it as the example, you'd be wrong in that, right? I can find an extremely frail, skinny little male with dark rimmed glasses and a beard and in a little hipster shop somewhere and say that he's very close to a female too, but that isn't going to be the representative of the male community, right? I wouldn't even say I am, for crying out loud. I'm in between, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, you can't take the exception to the rule with a strong female and use it as the example for the female community, because what you end up doing is, in this case, with multiple cases in the sports field right now, that you have these transgender women beating the hell, either figuratively or literally, out of their opponents on the track, in boxing and MMA and stuff like that. You have them in the cyclist that just won that championship last week that we talked about, and now in this case with the football team, I think it was, or soccer team or something. Yeah, I can't bring it up for some reason, but what you have is the biological makeup of a man coming against female opposition with more fragile bones and structure and size and everything. Now, I would imagine if this transgender woman was really pulling it off, which I've seen, okay, I've seen transgender men and transgender women that if I walked into a place and didn't know otherwise, wouldn't have guessed, which is pretty scary to me if I was in the dating world right now, okay? But there are some people that pull it off. I would imagine that if these people didn't know that this was the case for this transgender woman when they allowed her onto the original team, that they probably looked at her and said, wow, we're going to cream the opposition with this woman. She is a woman and she has a bigger structure than the other ones, and we'll be able to get through this a little bit better, right? But what happens is, if once you find out that truth, that like creaming the opponent means putting them into the hospital, for crying out loud, because of that different biological makeup, that's where you start running into issues. That's where whether they were sued by this transgender woman for discrimination, or they get sued by opposing teams multiple times for putting their people in the hospitals needlessly when they could just have biological females on the team. Well, what road do you go down? At what point do you as a team, or you as a business, or whatever it is that you're doing that has these types of environments and types of situations and circumstances involved in them, do you have to make a decision? It's of the lesser of two evils. Yeah, we'll get sued for $20,000 from her, because if we allow her onto a team, we're probably going to get sued for $100,000 by multiple teams over the course of the next few years by allowing her to play. That's really what that kind of decision actually comes down to. So if you ask me, that is the answer to last week's question of where are we actually going with this transgenderism in sports, and how do we approach that type of thing now? Because it's getting to the point where these questions have to be asked, and instead of answering those questions, instead of answering any questions revolving around this, we've only been delaying the process and kicking the can down the road and trying not to offend people and trying to tiptoe and walk on eggshells around everything as to not offend people. And instead, we just end up pushing these things off and allowing someone else to worry about it. And in the meantime, it becomes a societal norm for the situation. And then the people that fight back on anything, trying to resume any type of normalcy in society, are the ones that get picked apart and demonized because no one else wanted to deal with it. No one else wanted to just ask the basic questions. How do we move forward with this? And there is a responsible way, I'm sure, responsible ways of moving forward with it, but no one's coming out and actually showing it yet. No one is saying, you know, whether it's male and female sports in a transgender sport or male, female, transgender female, transgender male sports, and just 4 different things. Because at what point, how far do you go with that, right? Because at this point, it's an infinite number of genders. And there's a couple of really great videos out there from Steven Crowder and Charlie Kirk in regards to why that specific answer of an infinite number of identifications for gender is a problem. Because at what point do you say, as a person, how do we approach anyone with this, right? How do you not get away with not discriminating someone while talking to them unless you go through basically an airplane checklist before you enter into the conversation of how you're supposed to talk to that person? It just gets crazy. The next funny video, we have a guy in Georgia. Again, this has curse words in it and everything on the for you Facebook live people. We have a guy in Georgia that goes into a vape shop. He's obviously a Trump fan. He's wearing a Make America Great Again hat and a Trump t-shirt. And the guy in the vape shop, the ginger bearded dude behind the counter, flips out and loses his crap on this guy just for wearing a Trump t-shirt and hat. So let's take a look at the first part of the video where he's flipping out on this guy for coming into the store. And then I'm going to take a quick second for commentary before we get into the second half of the video as well. So let's take a look at that.
So here we are at Exhale Vapor City in Tucker, Georgia, and I have just been asked to leave the store. He greeted me. That was nice. I did find the item that I wanted, and the next thing he said was that he'd like me to leave.
If you do not stop recording in my store, I'm going to call the police and ask you to leave now.
Please call the... That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. We can call Fox 5 and all sorts of stuff. I would like to purchase something here. Please do call your boss, because I will be calling corporate.
Go for it.
I am looking forward to releasing this video, because I just want to purchase something.
F*** off, dude! F*** off! Get the f*** off in here, man! F*** off, man! You can't stand your racist motherfuckers!
Racist?
Yeah!
Sir,
Right?
I'm not a racist.
Right, I got a f***er in my store. He won't leave. He's wearing some Trump bullshit. Got some racist shit all up in his head and shit. I'm not serving anyone that has to do with that f***er. He's a treasonous asshole.
I don't have a problem with you, sir, whatsoever. I just want good health care for my kids. I don't have a problem with the color of your skin or yours. I'd like to purchase some of this naked vape juice, though, if that would be all right. All right, see, because... Okay, here's where we're at.
Leave the store.
Here's where you're at.
Leave the store.
Here's
Leave the store.
Here's where we're at,
dude. Leave the store! F*** off! I don't give a f***. Get out! Dude,
go ahead, take another swing at it. Make contact with me one more time. I'm going to make a deal with you. I want to purchase that vape juice.
No.
If you sell it to me, I won't. If you sell it to me, look, if you sell it to me, I won't call the police. What you did was assaulted me. What I need is that for my wife. If you sell it to me, I won't call the fucking cops and press charges on you for assault. I won't call corporate and get you fired. Just sell me the fucking product so I can leave.
What do you want?
Naked in the strawberry in a fucking 6 milligram.
Where do you see naked?
Right here. This shit, where is it?
Where
this
the fuck do you see
right
it?
there. Here. Right next to that. In a 6 milligram. Make sure it's a 6 milligram so I don't have to come back.
No, you're not coming back to my store, homie. I'm making sure of that. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh my fuck.
This guy I wouldn't even say guy. I wouldn't say man or anything like that. This liberal this flower, this delicate little flower, which is typically called a pansy, is flipping out on this guy for what he's wearing into the shop. Now, this goes back to the mentality of what we were talking about in the last podcast with the kid with the last name of Trump, right? That it doesn't stand for anything in particular. It's just a last name. And the kid ended up changing his last name because he was getting bullied. And he was actually honored by a anti-bullying society for caving in to the bullies, for having to change his name, right? In this case, this ginger pansy, wallflower, a little wallflower, I guess you could say, is flipping out on him because he's saying that the stuff that he's wearing is racist. Okay, so again, we could go back to multiple podcasts where I say specifically point out where what Trump did or said or anything is racist. You can assume based on what he wants to do with building the wall that he wants to keep Mexicans out, that he's racist. If that's your line of thought, which it shouldn't be, you can think that. But I would also point to Barbara Boxer, Chuck Schumer, who's the big one right now arguing against the wall, Barack Obama, who all said a wall should be a priority during Obama's term. I know that was about just a couple years ago, right? Less than a decade ago. They were arguing for the wall. Now they're arguing against the wall because that was the chant or slogan of the Trump administration pre-election in the primaries and everything. It was build the wall, right? Now they're actually against those people. What was on his hat was "Make America Great Again." Nothing racist about that, okay? Unless you're reading into it and coming up with your own narrative on what you think that means. If you're one of those people that says that things are a dog whistle, you know, there's plenty of people in society that will tell you exactly how they feel about things. I think we've gotten to the point beyond where people are trying to hide their language and dog whistle things. If they actually meant something, they would just come out to you and say that they are racist people and that they don't like minorities, okay? If that was the case, this hat, instead of saying "Make America Great Again," would say something actually racist on it, or his t-shirt or anything, okay? In the end here, this guy is just trying, the funniest part is not only is he just trying to buy some vape juice, which is a douchey thing anyway. I mean, people at vape, you look stupid, I'm sorry, you just do. But he's trying to buy this vape juice. On top of it, it's for his wife, and it's a strawberry flavor. So I'm laughing at that the whole way through because they're cursing each other out. And at the same time, he's like, just get the effing, this and that. Just get me the strawberry. Get me the strawberry. I love the scent of strawberry. That's for my wife. Just get the strawberry, for crying out loud. So they're going to town on each other, yelling at each other. But the guy behind the counter is having a child-sized temper tantrum as what should be an adult, screaming at a high pitch at the top of his lungs like a little kid that just had a toy taken away from him. It is the most pathetic observation of someone in a society of what actually happens, a societal interaction between people. This guy should never have graduated from school, because school, what it's supposed to be, is supposed to be preparing you to be an adult. This guy has about 10 or 15 years ahead of him before he even starts to understand basic concepts like that. Okay? Bill said Snowflake is a proper name. He said, yep, and they spoke of keeping illegals out and border control. Yeah. Oh, he's talking about Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Barbara Boxer, and all the other ones that are now being complete hypocrites and saying that we should just have open borders and everything. Okay, so where have we gotten to with the vape shop video? We have now gotten to the point where, after relentless cursing from Ginger Pansy here, you get to the point where he finally just said, I will. First of all, the thing that we didn't even mention, this guy at the start of the video actually ran over screaming at the Trump guy and hit him physically, telling him to get out. So he just assaulted a customer that came in that's honestly just looking to buy something and get the heck out of there. No one wants to be around a screaming temper tantrum person anyway, so it doesn't even make sense. They just want to get the heck out of there. So does that, comes back. This guy's like, listen, what I want you to do is just sell me this stuff so I don't call corporate and get you in trouble, and I don't go to the local news station and get you in trouble, and I just want to buy this and get the heck out of here, okay? Just can we do that and get a transaction going so this whole interaction of dealing with someone that needs a lollipop right now at the end of this visit can just be over with, for crying out loud. And he finally gets the guy, there's the strawberry stuff. The guy gets it. He brings it over to the register. And that's basically where we stopped. Now, while the other stuff has been entertaining to watch so far with this interaction, this is where I started laughing. And I have to admit, like, I don't want to see someone that obviously is in the right in a situation stoop low to go against someone of the opposition at any point in time. This guy is basically lined up at this point to get the strawberry vape juice that he wants. And he's at the register. And he starts taking little hits to Ginger Pansy here. So let's take a look at how he pisses him off and gets him to a whole other level again.
God bless America. Capitalism wins again.
F*** your capitalism. F*** your fucking president. He's a racist, stupid piece of shit. You're
Whatever,
a racist,
just ring the shit
stupid piece of shit.
Just ring the shit up.
F*** off.
Do my bidding.
Man, get out.
Sell it
Call
to me.
cops.
No,
Call cops. No.
Sell it
Call
to me.
cops.
Sell it to me, punk.
Call cops.
It's your job, your freedom. Sell me the shit.
You can be.
No. Sell it to me.
Nope.
Sell it to me.
F*** off.
Come on. Ring it up. Ring it up and you don't ruin your life. That's where you're at right now. Because you done upset me. And you should have helped him first in the first place before you threw a temper tantrum, dipshit. He's standing here waiting for you to ring him up. How fucking...
Get
is
out!
that simple? Help your customer. You got a business card here?
We are going to be here all day. Get out.
I'm cool with it. I'm recording. You got a business card for your manager or anything like that?
I ain't giving you fucking dick.
Oh, man.
I'm giving you dick, you
This is phenomenal. Look, God bless America and everybody in it. I love you, sir. I don't even know you. I love you too. And God bless you.
This is about money.
This is about money. I just want to bring this thing home to my wife. You know?
This is about money, man.
Man, this got nothing to do with skin color.
I'm not selling
This has
you
nothing to do with skin color.
This is about money, man.
Look, I like having a little bit more money in my paycheck. I like paying less for my kids' health care. I got nothing to do with skin color, bro.
$3, man. I'm not selling you dick.
I'm
You
sorry
can
you gotta go through this, but
Wow, man. God bless you. Hey, check it out. He's still your president. Go f*** yourself.
Oh my goodness. So so at that point when he's at the register, he's like, God bless America, capitalism wins again. You can almost hear a slight pause of this guy at the register finally going through with the transaction, just stopping and flipping out again on this guy. He's just taking these little jabs at this dude that is completely losing his crap. He finally regained it and just loses it again. And on top of it, what we actually see is, okay, there's one other client or customer in the store at this time, and it happens to be a black guy, right? And he's standing by watching this whole thing. Throughout the whole process, he was the first customer into the store at this point before Mr. Trump shirt walks in, right? And this guy's telling him, listen, what you should have done is actually taking care of that guy first and got his stuff paid for and gotten him out of here. What you chose to do is go after me because of my Trump shirt and everything, ignoring a customer that has been waiting here. Supposedly, if you think I am wearing racist paraphernalia now, if you are some sort of savior of the minorities and everything, you're ignoring one over there, okay? So who the heck are you? Who's being the racist one here? You jumped over a black guy to a white guy to serve him in this vape shop and everything. So you're being a hypocrite in this case. Now, he didn't actually come out and say all that, but beyond that, then we actually start to actually hear from that customer in the store. And the customer himself, without being queued up into it or anything to give the response. This guy's standing there and he goes, this is about money, man. This is all about transaction and getting what you pay for and getting out of the store. This has nothing to do with politics. He just came in for his vape juice. And this guy's like, thank you. God bless you, because you get it. So this guy's actually saying that it actually makes sense. It's a business transaction. Just get it over with and get out of there. Now, let's backtrack a little bit here and actually take a look at what this situation is in regards to how I myself, Chris, the host of this podcast, can be perceived as a hypocrite, okay? Why would I say that this guy should go through with a transaction when just last week we went over the 2 female artists that were commissioned to do things for a gay wedding that denied it and are being sued, and why Jack Phillips, the cake baker, is back in the news, and why I'm defending him, okay? It's a very good question. I think that these types of things need to be discussed with solutions and exactly why these things are broken down so that you don't fall into a hypocritical trap like most of these types of people do. For example, right there, racist hat, right? But he overlooks the black customer that came in clearly before him. That guy was a hypocrite. That was a hypocritical situation. Not to mention he didn't know what the hell he was talking about with the hat and shirt anyway, and couldn't tell you anything about the racism behind it because, as Bill said here on the podcast, he was probably sleeping in his mom's bed until he was 16, and that's about how far away from an adult he has actually been. So let's take a look at the comparison of these types of situations, right? Jack Phillips, the cake baker, and these 2 female artists were commissioned to take their creative talents and time and put them into something that went against their religious beliefs. Both of those cases, the one thing that was similar for both of them was that they told people from the LGBT community that came in that they would serve them with anything that they had in their inventory that was already there, okay? If you wanted a wedding cake that was on display that was just recently put into the little refrigerated display case and everything, and you wanted it for your LGBT wedding, right? You could buy that cake and he would give it to you and you could take it off, okay? What he didn't want to do is create a specific piece and invest his time, emotion, and religious belief against his religious belief to create those. In the case of the artists, same thing. That's time. That's putting your creative efforts into it. The worst thing I have personally seen is when you hire a videographer, for crying out loud, that has to go and shoot a wedding all day for 12 hours, okay? And then has to go back through 12 hours of footage watching something that they completely disagree with religiously, okay? That they didn't even want to do in the first place. And then they have to creatively try to come up with a way to make this look like a princess love story and everything and weave this all together, okay? That's a really disturbing thing to violate the conscious freedom of individuals and to go against their religious freedoms, okay? So where does that apply in comparison to the vape shop guy and everything? First of all, those 2 comparisons were the owners of those companies. I believe they had the right to refuse business. Had Ginger Pansy over here been the owner of this vape shop, if he wanted to refuse business to this guy for having a Trump hat on and a Trump shirt on, I'll be honest with you, I think he should have been able to. That's just my opinion. I think you should be able to refuse service for anyone based on anything, okay? If I don't like the way you smile when you come into my shop, I think I should be able to say, I don't want to serve you. Or the frown, whatever it is, right? This guy clearly was not the owner of this vape shop. He got on the phone immediately in the first part video there and started talking to the owner saying that this guy's coming in with this racist BS on. I'm not going to serve someone that stands for this kind of crap in my country and stuff like that. He starts going off on him to the actual owner or to corporate or whatever the heck, whoever is above him. Maybe it's just a manager. Maybe this is some sort of franchise thing or something. This guy did not have the authority to refuse business. On top of that, in staying with the comparison of the actual products in place being those that are currently available and those being created specifically for something, if this guy had come in and said, I want a vape juice that smells like the brick mortar of the wall and and the steel of all the stuff that goes into the wall. And I want you to name it Vaping Trump Build the Wall Juice or something like that, and make a specific juice. That would go against what I believe is the conscious freedom of an individual in that shop. In this case, like the others, there was a product available on the shelf. All you had to do was a transaction, and it didn't have to be tied to any emotional value whatsoever or any type of belief system. Okay, so that is the comparison and why I believe those things are separate. Yeah, just so you know, Eric points out here that the guy was fired from that job. I don't necessarily believe in using social media to go after people. I think, this video probably went viral enough at this point that corporate or the manager or whatever saw the type of temperament with this person and just realized I think it has more to do with the temperament, to be honest with you, that this guy didn't get it. And now I feel really bad because there was a video that he did immediately after this video of a vape shop. I think it was less than 3 blocks down the road with another liberal. And he showed her the video of what happened at the previous vape shop, and she said, I would never treat you like that. I completely disagree with everything that you stand for on Trump and the wall and everything like that, but I'll serve you any day of the week as long as you're basically nice to her and everything. And he made a video with her, and I'll throw that into the final podcast so you can actually see that, because they're like, yeah, we're getting along. A conservative and a liberal can get along as long as you just respect each other. That's it.
So here we are down the street at the Tucker Smoke Shop.
This is you mark Smoke and Vape.
You Mark Smoke and Vape. Check it out. This is my friend Casey. We walked in. I could show her that video, and she was abhorred.
Disgusting. You don't treat people like that.
You don't treat people like that.
You really don't.
See, here we are, a liberal Democrat,
Totally not a Trump
conservative
supporter.
Republican.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Not at all.
Man, I'm a 5-time felon and a convict. You understand what I'm saying? Here we are, coming together.
Cool as shit.
Cool as shit, man. This is my friend from here. I'm going to shop here from now on out. All right? Man, God bless America and everybody in it.
And that's all we're talking about in society anymore with this outrage culture is just respect for each other. How did Al Sharpton spell respect?
So in the words of my late friend Aretha Franklin, show some RESPICT.
It was pretty funny. Okay, let's see here. This is a story that's actually been making the rounds a couple times, and I haven't covered it yet because, quite frankly, I cover my thoughts and my positions on abortion specifically quite frequently, and why I believe abortion is wrong no matter what circumstance. I've brought you through my life experience that brought me up until this point. I used to be pro-choice without a doubt in school, in public school, which tells you something right there. Into college, where I talked to someone that was very close to me, and they said that they had an abortion. They wondered where that child would be today. They started breaking down crying to me, and I realized, oh my gosh, this has an emotional impact. It's not just a once and done procedure. It carries an emotional weight to you, and you wonder where this child would be today, right? So I thought, okay, then I believe that this is harmful. There's obviously physical side effects that can prevent a woman from getting pregnant again, can ruin her internal structure of everything, and there's emotional baggage that goes along with it for at least a good percentage of people that will always wonder. I personally had an elder friend mentor, this couple that my wife and I went to at our church. They were at our church, and we would go to them for counsel as adults and everything, and get their opinion on faith and religion and different things. She had an abortion when she was a teenager, I think, and still in her, she must be in her 60s or 70s, still to this day regrets that and has become a avid pro-life advocate. And just an amazing human being, both of them are, which is why we always use them. And listen, before I go, I'm going to get a little off topic. If you have people in your church or elders or anything like that you look up to, and you have the opportunity now to speak to them and just soak in their wisdom on what they've experienced through life. You need to take advantage of it, because I just listened to a podcast. It was actually Glenn Beck's podcast of him interviewing a kid who, straight out of high school, actually in high school, he was interviewing veterans and putting it onto DVD and giving it to the families and everything, and keeping a copy himself. And he made it his mission that once he got out of high school, his mission was to interview at least one veteran a day from World War II, until the last veteran dies, okay? And he does at least one a day. And I always get freaking emotional on this stuff. He does at least one a day, sometimes more. And he has not been home for over 2 years now, okay? He has made his mission. He's traveled all over the United States, to all the states, to Canada, to the UK to interview these people. And the amount of wisdom that he has soaked in, what he's learned from these people, what he's gotten as the end result, their words of advice that he always asks them at the end, and what they see wrong, what they regret so much. One of the things was, when you talk to people, what is the one thing that you consistently hear from them? And they say that the one regret that they have is they wish that they could go back and tell their brothers in arms that they were fighting alongside in the trenches, that they lost their lives out there, is that they wish that they could tell them that the fight wasn't worth it. Because you look at the world today, you look at our society, the breakdown of all this crazy crap that I'm showing to you right now, they said, what was it for? Our society, the fabric of our society, the morals and principles of our society, to respect each other, to respect life, to work your butt off and earn something instead of it being handed to you, has been completely shredded. And these World War II veterans that sacrificed everything, in the greatest generation that went out and just left the country in support of doing the best thing for the humanity of the world, being selfless individuals, they now think, as a majority, that it wasn't worth it because we're not living up to the standards that they fought for us, okay? So that's just one individual who goes out and talks to older generations, and he said he doesn't have any friends his age. He said every friend he has is a World War II veteran, and not only has he interviewed them, he goes back and calls some of these individuals for life advice. He doesn't know how to interact with young people anymore, because he said he's been out to the bar recently and talked to someone that was young and just can't connect with them anymore because they're talking about the dumbest crap. I mean, what do you have to learn from someone who's swiping through on Tinder and is a social justice warrior, as opposed to someone that dropped everything that they had in their country and left and went and fought overseas in a land that they had no information on or anything except for textbooks at that point in time. They didn't have internet to connect people, and they're over there away from their friends and family and everything, storming the beaches, going into these perilous situations in the most bloody, close combat to fight for the freedom of the world. Not just our country, for the world. Where's the comparison there? At all, okay? So in regard, so I said that was off topic. If you have the opportunity to speak to people, I'll just be very honest with you. One of my biggest regrets is, I wish I could show you my wall over here. My grandfather, my father's father, was a World War II veteran, and he was in the Air Force, and he worked on the Flying Fortresses, the B-17 bombers, and he held the record for the fastest takeout of an engine and reinstalling an engine on there at the time, at least, and with the basic tools and everything. He was in a crash landing. He was in a crash takeoff. He was one bad SOB at the time. It's cool stories. I had the honor of delivering his eulogy at his funeral, and I have that available somewhere, but unfortunately, it was written so well, I've been asked to deliver other eulogies as well. But I guess public speaking comes naturally to me. But in the case of him, what happened was, when I reached the age that I actually was able to understand and become interested in his life experiences and actually sit down. I would have been able to sit down with him for hours upon hours, days upon days, to listen to his experience of what he went through, what he was thinking, what was happening at the time. And no person is perfect. He divorced my grandmother before I was born and everything, and there were things that followed along with that. But by the time I got married and actually became interested in politics and in the history of the world and everything, he suffered a massive stroke and couldn't speak to me or anyone for that matter, and instead we had to hear stories by the wayside from other people and learn about some of the things through pictures and from stories from other people and everything, it was just a horrible situation for actually both those grandparents, and when he divorced as well, my grandmother, who suffered from dementia right before she went as well, to see these two people become shells of a person and be trapped inside themselves, knowing that the intelligence is there, what they want to tell you is there, but they just can't tell you anymore. And that's a heartbreaking thing. Anybody that has anyone with Alzheimer's in their family, it's really tough. But World War II is one thing. You have the opportunity to speak to people that whole war was completely different than anything that we've dealt with since then. But don't let the World War II veterans stop you. If you don't have any World War II veterans in your life, certainly talk to the Korean War veterans, talk to Vietnam veterans, I have a friend that was in Afghanistan in the 2000s and everything, and I enjoy hearing the stories from him. Some people don't want to talk if it's too recent and everything. But there is wisdom to be had from those people that can tell you you're upset about the dumbest things in this country right now. If you're going to flip out because someone didn't call you ma'am when you're clearly speaking like a man in a GameStop store, when you're over in the Middle East somewhere and gay people are getting stoned. Gay people are getting thrown off of buildings and everything. If you really think you have it bad here because you're misgendered, there's a huge disconnect in regards to what is reality in this world. So anyway, talk to the veterans. Talk to your elders. Absorb that wisdom. And I'm way off topic right now. And you got me emotional. What I need you to do... Anyway, okay, so the story in this case anyway is coming from Live Action, which is a great organization, okay, that you should be following along with on any social media platform. And it is a pro-life advocacy organization run by Leela Rose, who's awesome. And the headline for this is "Conceived in Rape, Former Miss Pennsylvania Shares Why Every Human Life Deserves Protection." Okay? So here it is. When former Miss Pennsylvania Valerie Gatto was in 3rd grade, she found out the difficult truth that she had been conceived when her mother was raped at knife point. Gatto's mother was only 19 years old when the attack occurred. Her assailant had plans to murder her as well, but says those plans were thwarted when a bright light from an unknown source appeared. That light gave Gatto's mother the ability to get up and run away before he could do any further harm to her. Gatto says, I like to think of that light as my mother's and my guardian angel. In an interview with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, Gatto says her mother always told her I was her light. Soon after the attack, Gatto's mother discovered she was pregnant, and according to an interview with Gatto for CBS Pittsburgh, her mother never considered abortion. She did have plans to put her daughter up for adoption, hoping she could be given a more stable life elsewhere. But after Gatto was born, her grandmother reminded her daughter that God does not give us more than we can handle. She convinced Gatto's mother to raise her little girl herself. Thus, at 20 years of age, Gatto's mother lay aside plans to attend law school in order to raise her daughter. Gatto grew up living with her mother and maternal grandparents in a stable, loving home. She says she never felt as though her mother regretted her decision to keep her. Besides the Miss Pennsylvania and looking really good, this is a very similar story to my own family's history and everything. And that is that my great grandmother was raped and my grandfather was born. And this is a story I tell all the time. So when we went back through my personal story and I said that abortion was not okay except for rape and incest, that's around the time that I found out that my great grandmother was raped and my grandfather was born of a rape situation and everything. And it took me sitting there realizing at the time that 20 family members wouldn't exist today if my great grandmother had decided to go through with an abortion. Thank God for us and everyone involved that abortion was never an option for her either. She went to her family and they said, listen, have the baby. We will raise a baby as a family. And what ended up happening in a very twisted turn of events, and I get it, it's really weird. He grew up he was raised by his aunt, my great-grandmother's sister. So he always thought that his aunt was his mom and his mom was his aunt, and it was switched off and everything. And he didn't learn until later on in life that he was conceived of rape and everything. But now, as of today, there's at least 28 members in our family tree that would not exist today had that my grandfather been aborted. And there is an ability to love a child. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and be naive to the fact that there are people there's a woman that would be pregnant from rape and carrying around what she would consider a monster seed inside of her belly and everything, and how horrible that must make you feel. But if you can acknowledge, if you can grasp the concept of the value of life, if we could just respect each other in society and love each other and realize that every life is important, that every life should be given a chance, which goes back to the whole argument, how can you be pro-life but pro-death penalty and everything? Those people were given a life and they ruined it. They abused that life. They were given the opportunity and they didn't do anything with it. As a matter of fact, they harmed people with that life. Okay, that's something very different than an innocent child inside the stomach that didn't have anything to do with it. They were just as much of a victim of the situation, maybe not as much, but they're a victim of the situation in that case. Why would you end a life that had nothing to do with the situation? The circumstance behind it. I get it, it's hard, but the idea behind being pro-life in that kind of instance is that you are able to give that child up for adoption, and that there are many people out there that are going through the adoption process right now that have waited years, sometimes decades, for a child to be acknowledged through the system and for them to receive them and raise this child. And we have a screwed up adoption system, along with the overturning of Roe v. Wade and everything, which I would love to see, but I would love to see it on a scale of Americans actually acknowledging and valuing life through education, and as a society, us as a majority turning that around and not forcing it on people, because I think that just turns the whole thing even more sour of a topic. I would love to see that turnaround, and also have a turnaround of our adoption process and reforming that system so that we can actually get these children that are in desperate need of loving homes out to those homes and actually have that go through. In this case here, you have a former Miss Pennsylvania at this point now whose mother took the opportunity to give birth, put her life on hold. Very tough situation for multiple reasons, and now you have a successful daughter who is not a monster like her father, okay? And I think that's really the mentality that goes behind people that think that you should abort in a rape case because it's a monster seed, that it will turn into a monster themselves, and that's just not the case, okay? Obviously, we have a situation where a woman was raped, became an avid pro-life advocate. Her daughter, who was born of that situation, is now an even bigger pro-life advocate, and it's just an example to set to the rest of society as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Here's another great point. So Eric and Bill are both chiming into this and everything, and they're both agreeing. Eric just said something that I think is something that is really worth pointing out. He said many things have changed since 1973. Updates are needed. One of the biggest changes that has happened since Roe v. Wade, Roe being the one that advocated for abortion, Roe is now, if you don't know this, and it's not often told, especially in mainstream media, Roe is now an avid pro-life advocate that has dedicated her life to overturning Roe v. Wade. Okay, that's amazing, first of all, okay? But some of the things that have actually changed since 1973 is the ability for us to actually see the baby inside the womb through ultrasound. Some states have actually passed some policies where before you actually go through with an abortion, that you have to undergo an ultrasound to see the baby, to understand what you are actually doing to that life before you have an abortion. And if you go ahead and do it after that, you know, I'll be very honest with you, I'm not mad at people that have had abortions. I've overcome that anger myself. I feel very sad for them because they don't value life, and even if they say they do, I don't really think that they understand valuing life. What I see is people that have had abortions that have used that circumstance to become avid pro-life advocates, and that's a beautiful thing. That is really turning that ugly situation around into something really beautiful. But on top of that, I personally just really believe that those that are pro-choice anymore, that haven't been indoctrinated by the public education system and believe it because of that those people that have had an abortion advocate for pro-choice because they don't want to feel like they were ever wrong in the situation, or you have people that personally know someone that had an abortion and feel like they have to validate that person that they know, that they love, their actions in the past, and they become pro-choice because of an advocating for the validity of that person's decision, which is a wrong way of looking at it. I would really hope and pray that those people that went through an abortion and have been weighing this emotional baggage would take that opportunity to turn it around and not be judged and go out into society and actually become pro-life advocates and say it was a big mistake. I couldn't have imagined the physical and emotional implications of what was going to occur because the public education system has screwed over our youth and taught them that this is just another form of birth control for people that make mistakes, and that's it, and that there's no harm. It's a simple procedure, it's done, it's over with, you could go on with your life and go back and party again in this sexual revolution culture where sex doesn't even matter anymore. All right, I mean, it's just, we have people that are in open relationships all the time, even married open relationships and everything, that can't bring themselves to love that other person enough to share that experience with just that person, right? Sex has become a physical activity akin to a sport at this point, and it's not valued in a marriage situation. Is this what we've gone to? Yep. So Eric chimed in about the viability of the fetus, which I refuse to call a fetus at this point because it is a baby inside. And one of the arguments that drives me absolutely crazy is, and you can use this in the future, if someone looks at you and says that abortion is okay because it's just a clump of cells in there, I would immediately shoot back at them, you're a clump of cells. What's the difference? You are still a clump of cells right now. You are existing as a clump, massed together group of cells that was intelligently designed by a creator to look the way you are. You are a clump of cells. That is a clump of cells. It's called a baby, though. Okay? You are what should be an adult that has a semblance of intelligence at this point, that you should be able to tell the difference that you're both a clump of cells. Okay? All right, so I'm getting worked up. What you're about to see stays along the lines of the abortion topic, but we'll have a little bit of fun with it. I'll try to laugh at it. I personally believe that this video and the premise of this video is absolutely evil, and just it's so disturbing what this group is actually advocating for right now. But this is according to FaithWire. It says an activist tells young kids that abortion is, quote, all part of God's plans. Okay, so I broke this video down into 9 sections. It's not too long, but I think we need to take a look at each section and what this crazy woman is talking about to actually break apart and intelligently converse about this. Okay, so let's take a look at the first portion of the video here.
Do you think that sometimes it's not okay to have an abortion?
I want to say if you're being reckless, if there's nothing wrong going on.
I don't know. I just don't agree.
So what are we here to talk about today?
Well, I had an abortion.
Oh.
So what do you know or what have you heard about abortion?
I don't exactly know what happens, but like you go and basically get rid of the baby from inside you.
What have you heard?
That.
Same thing. Have you ever talked to somebody about abortion before?
I actually wrote a paper in 5th grade about it.
Wow. What was
Yeah.
your paper about?
Abortion is okay. And it also depends on like what's happening and why they got the abortion.
So you think it's okay depending on the circumstances?
Yes.
Let's start off with this. The basic premise of this video is a woman who has had an abortion, and she just so happens to be the woman who is heading up this whole hashtag shout your abortion campaign. So she's putting it out there, okay? This woman is sitting down with impressionable kids who she is going to force her opinion on and try to get them to change their minds. Young kids. This isn't an equal level of intelligence, conversation of age and everything else where she's trying to convince an adult of her age that abortion is okay. She is taking young, impressionable kids and trying to tell them that abortion is okay. Okay? It's not okay. I just said a lot of okays there. But the boy in the end there, right? Do you know anything about abortion? Yes, I wrote a paper on abortion when I was in 5th grade about how it's okay in certain situations. In 5th grade? Okay, let's jump back to what I was just talking about before about how public education has been failing us, okay? So a 5th grader is writing a paper on abortion, okay? This is exactly what we're talking about the miseducation of America's youth today and how education is being used and weaponized against culture, morals, values, principles. This is why I always tell people, one of the main reasons why we started to homeschool beyond Common Core, beyond state standardized testing, beyond the BS of what the evolution versus creation and everything, where there isn't even a middle ground taught, or even creation taught as what some people believe. Okay, we're certainly, it's not okay to talk about Christian things in school, but you have to learn the pillars of Islam, right? You have to learn about evolution, but you can't learn about what people say about creation at all. And it's so infuriating. Okay, a 5th grader writing about abortion has no idea what he's talking about. I'm sorry. What they should do is have people to come in on both sides that have not had an abortion, had an abortion, and in the various cases on each side, and present their opinions and how they went through the circumstance to get an equal level playing field of what was going on. But I can tell you right now that is not what is happening in our public education system. What I was going with that is one of the main reasons why we pulled our kids out of school and started homeschooling them is because one of the arguments I hear from people is I say that when I don't want our morals and values as Christians, as a family, to be torn apart and shredded, where someone is going to tell my kids or anyone else's kids that your parents are wrong and you need to correct them. And if you think I'm crazy, Look back within the past decade with Al Gore actually going into the schools talking about climate change and telling the kids in an assembly, your parents don't understand what they're talking about, but you are the future. Climate change is real, and you need to get your butts home and tell your parents that climate change is real and change their mind. This is exactly what they're doing. I do not want my kids going to school and having their morals and values stripped away from them and new ones for social justice crap implanted in their heads and coming home and battling against us and setting us apart for future family feuds and everything. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, if you have your kids in public school right now, you're making a mistake. And sometimes that is a fact of the matter that you have to send them there because you're both working and that's what it takes to support a household. Sometimes, like in Bill's case here, who's been chiming in, I haven't had a chance to read your comments yet, Bill. Last I saw of him, he was working a night shift. His fiance or wife, I don't know if they're married yet, fiance, was working the day shift, and they were trying to work that. I have multiple friends that work different shifts just so that they could be there for the kid for when they come home from school and everything. But what good is it? Okay, sit down with your spouse and actually look at what is being taught in school. Go to a school board meeting for once in your life. Just go and listen to some of the topics that are being brought up. Go and listen to how the federal and state government are mandating crap to be brought upon your kids, that your school board that you elect to go into the boardroom and make decisions based on your child's education have no say anymore. Okay, 20 years ago, you could take a certain topic, a certain policy, and say, we're not going to do that in our school and be okay with it. Now, if you do that, you lose federal funding. Okay, so what choice do you have? At this point, the only reason why you elect school board directors onto the school board is to go over budget concerns, okay, and to hear issues within the school district. They have very little to no control over curriculum, what is taught, or anything anymore because they're too afraid that the federal government is going to come down and smack them down and say you lose your federal funding. So we're put into this horrible place right now where you either say, okay, as a conservative, right? If you're a conservative, if you're in a conservative area like I used to be where I was a board director, I am put onto that because of the morals and values of the community that I represent, okay, that align with me. They voted me in. And on top of that, I have to be fiscally conservative with the taxpayer money and represent them as well. Okay, so if I say the federal government should not have their say in curriculum and state standards and a common bar for Common Core, that level of success that they have to reach and everything, if I disagree with that and I say just screw you, the federal government, we're going to do things our own way and we're going to raise these kids right in this school district, then we lose federal funding, and I, as a conservative, fiscal conservative, have to go to the taxpayers and say, you know what, sorry, we have to raise your taxes astronomically. So you're caught in a tough place. Or do you, as a board director, on the alternative, sit there and think to yourself, you know what, maybe in an off chance one day the community will come in here and go, what the hell happened to our kids, and realize that the governments, both the local, state, and federal, all three of them, have been mandating crap that has been ruining the education in our country and putting us at 27th in the world with all the stupid stuff that they've been putting onto these kids is ruining them. And maybe in mass they come in and they demand a change and are willing to have the conversation about their taxes being raised. But I can pretty much guarantee you that is an astronomically small percentage of a chance that you're going to have that kind of awakening in your community. I'm sorry. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place for all that. I got some people heated. So, okay. Sorry, we're only on part one of abortion. I went into education. That was my fault. Okay, let's go into part two.
Why did you have an abortion?
A few years ago, I got pregnant, and I really didn't want to have a baby.
May I ask what happened? Did he not wear a condom? Did the condom break? Was it pre-ejaculation?
Such good questions, Vanessa.
Thank you.
He wasn't wearing a condom.
Why wasn't he wearing a condom?
Have you ever had two options and one of them like seems easier at the time.
Oh yeah, like you could take a shortcut or you could go the long way.
It was the shortcut
around.
version.
Okay, these kids actually happen to be asking some very good questions. And what we find out in the course of this is that Miss Shout Your Abortion was reckless in her sex life. They were not using a condom. And what she happens to do is break this down into, have you ever had a circumstance where you decided to do one thing because it was a shortcut, right? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever decided that on New Year's you went out and had a party and you got way too drunk and decided it's a good idea to drive my car an hour home from the party, right? And take that chance on all the major highways and off-roads and everything else, right? And you happen to hit a person and kill them. Well, why should you be punished for something like that, right? It was just a choice that you made at the time, right? Choices have consequences, unfortunately, in reality. So she's comparing this then to taking a shortcut. And believe me, I actually do believe that this is a shortcut. And a shortcut in life that's not going to get you anywhere, unfortunately. Let me see what we got going on here. This situation where she's trying to equate this to bad decisions. Unfortunately for her, these kids actually started asking some deeper questions. Don't rely on little Vanessa over there to actually go even deeper on this and ask why they chose to be reckless in their sex life at all, because they don't.
What did your partner think at the time?
You know, I think we were both like bummed out that I got pregnant, and he was just like supportive of what I wanted to do.
Were you reckless at the time?
I mean, I wouldn't really say that I was being reckless. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't do that in the moment. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I'm glad.
Good answer, kid. I don't know what the hell she was trying to say either. Okay, she starts off with he said, were you reckless? Again, she's kind of caught a little off guard in this case, right? She, you see, I wouldn't say I was reckless. Is this subjective now, according to what you felt you were doing? You were reckless. He wasn't using a condom. You got pregnant. That was a reckless activity for you then. If you chose to abort this baby based on your recklessness, that is what happens. That is cause and effect in that case, right? And then on top of that, he says, I forget what he said, but let's go back to the analogy of drunk driving and everything. Would you say you were reckless for going out and drunk driving and have, yeah, okay. Would you say that it was reckless for you to go out drunk driving? Well, I wouldn't say it was reckless. Could you get away with that? No, because we all inherently know that it isn't a subjective activity to go out drunk driving, right? So we all know that would not have happened. The accident would not have happened where you killed someone or potentially killed someone had you not taken that choice of being reckless. The other thing that he said was, now I just had it and I forgot it again. So that's what it was. It wasn't something that he said. It was something that she said. So going back to that, she said, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes mistakes happen. Could you get away with that in our analogy that we're currently using with drunk driving and killing someone? I don't know. I don't think I was being reckless, but sometimes mistakes happen. You know? Do you see how this all falls apart? The only way that you can argue against this analogy and think that I'm being way out of line in this case is if you don't have a respect for human life at the most basic fundamental stages, okay? And that is why this is the main subject of what we actually need to be talking about, is the respect for life and everything. Yeah, Eric said, what a bummer to get pregnant. Sheesh. Well, if you listen to Obama, I love my daughters, but if one of them got pregnant, I wouldn't want them punished with a baby, you know? This is the kind of society that we live in, unfortunately. Okay, let's go on to part 4 of this.
Are you guys religious?
Yeah, I'm Catholic.
Have you ever heard of what like the Catholic Church thinks about abortion?
I don't think the church liked it.
Yeah.
Because like they like see it as like killing the baby.
What do you guys think?
I think that it's up to you,
Same.
because
I feel supported by that. I believe that like life begins when a person has a baby.
Oh.
Clearly, like some people believe that life begins at conception.
Which it doesn't.
Do you know what conception? Does that make sense? I mean, you
When
know
a
about
sperm
goes
enters an egg,
into the egg.
it becomes a fetus, and then the fetus is in a lady's tummy, or in the womb. It's not really a human being yet.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I kind of like to compare it to like a sea cucumber. It's not thinking, it's just living. It's like your arm is not capable of complex thought. Neither is a baby inside your womb.
I like your take.
Like your arm, you are not capable of complex thought at this point either. Mr. Sea Cucumber. From this point forward, we're going to call you Mr. Sea Cucumber. Okay, let's jump back a little bit here. One of the first things that they asked of the two younger girls on this one is, are you religious people? They say that they're Catholic. What does the Catholic Church think about abortion? I don't know when this was filmed, but I would say, what day is it? What day and time? Could be any position of the Catholic Church at this point, because the Pope is in and of himself a social justice warrior at this point and completely turning against the word. Like, talk about Antichrist type things going on in the Catholic Church right now. The Pope is bad news for Catholicism. That's all I gotta say about that. He may do some good for people and be recognized for that, but his bastardization of the word has been just left and right over the past couple years. In regards to those two young individuals as well, what I thought was really sick was when she turned to the girl on her right side in the video, on the left on the video, she said, "What do you think it should be though?" And the little girl's like, "I think it should be up to you." And it's like, yeah, you're forcing a literal child to sit with you while you discuss you're having an abortion, and you're asking her what her thoughts are. Unfortunately, it's the same thing that we talk about all the time in regards to public education, on why, in the case of that California school teacher, how she could possibly have had a teenage boy walk up to the front of the room, sit down, and the teacher just start cutting his hair off in chunks. Why he would sit there. People are like, what kind of teenager would do that? Why would they just sit there? Why would they sit there and allow this to happen instead of getting up and walking away? Because we have ingrained in our children that the people in the public education system are authoritative figures that know better than you, and you absolutely have to listen and obey. And obey is exactly the mantra of what these people want you as a child to do. So while she's asking this young girl over to the right-hand side of her, what do you think? Well, I think it should be up to you, I guess, right? Well, yeah, she's sitting there and basically going along with the authoritative figure in the topic. I would have loved to have seen what these kids would have said if this was also a pro-life advocate in the room with them as well, and they were hearing both sides. Because at this point, you're just indoctrinating these kids into your own beliefs and everything. Then we go over into some of the other areas, and the one boy doesn't think that it deals with religion, I guess. And then the two, Mr. Sea Cucumber and little Vanessa over there, unbelievable. Oh, that's what the Shout Your Abortion woman was saying to the black kid is, well, I don't believe that it's a baby until it's born. What? You have an uneducated individual educating other kids at this point and indoctrinating them. Because as Eric was talking about, that was chiming in on the podcast there, about how advanced technology has gotten and where we've come to. At 26 weeks in the womb, a baby can be removed and with support of medical devices live outside the womb. Okay? So to say that that's not a baby inside while it's inside, but it can survive outside with help. A baby born, I think, after 30 weeks or something like that, doesn't need much help medically to survive and everything. So at this point, you could be going into labor and say, you know what, jab something in there into the brain of this clump of cells, as they would say, and kill it because I don't want to give birth to a baby on my Labor Day, right? That's what this woman is advocating for, is abortion all the way up through late term, okay? Then we get to Sea Cucumber Man and Vanessa there, and they start arguing about that conception isn't when life begins and everything, but they can't really give a good idea of when life begins. Actually, I'll be honest with you and just give you a little spoiler alert. At no point in this video do they ever break down when life begins, except for when she says just as soon as they're born. Then that's life, right? Because it requires a support system. Well, so do people in prison, okay? They would not be able to survive in that jail cell without the support of the food services people and everything else that goes along with the prison activities. So what should we do? If someone commits a crime and goes to prison, should we just automatically kill them there because they require a support system to continue to live? Answer me that, right? Do people that go into comas that might have a chance of living, what if it's a 2-day, 3-day coma? What if it's a 3-week? What if it's a 3-year coma, right? If there's a chance that they could come out of a vegetative state because there's actual brain activity, but for some reason something else isn't connecting and you have to go on to life support, should we just cut them loose? Even if it's just going into a coma for a couple minutes because they require a support system? These are the types of questions that obviously this woman, the Shout Your Abortion woman, is not having with these kids because it's inconvenient, obviously. Let's go on to the next one.
At any point were you like considering not doing it?
No, actually, for me, it was like an instant feeling. Like I was like, I'm pregnant, okay, I'm having an abortion.
Was your family mad or okay? Or?
They were okay, yeah. They were like really supportive, which I think was another reason I wasn't scared, is because I knew that I had so much support.
Have you told a lot of people or just your close family?
I told my Lyft driver on my way here. I've told so many people about my abortion, so I decided to tell everyone on Facebook that I had had an abortion and that I was choosing to tell people that because I felt like the pro-choice movement was really silent. The status update went viral, which like wasn't just people being like, hey, I had an abortion too, yay, let's talk about it. There were like a lot of super angry people who were like harassing and abusing and threatening me.
I like to post controversial things. I think everyone should, within reason, have self-autonomy, you know? I'll post on Facebook sometimes, like, just your friendly reminder that abortion isn't murder.
Here's another friendly reminder. You need more education. This Shout Your Abortion woman is a regular old comedian. Do you tell anyone about your abortion? Well, I told my Lyft driver on the way here. Yeah, all right. And it's so ridiculous what she's getting into. The reason why she's shouting her abortion across Facebook and social media and everything is because she feels that the pro-choice movement has been silent. When the heck has the pro-choice movement ever been silent in my lifetime especially? But the whole point, the only way that Roe v. Wade would have been passed is by an active and unsilent mass of people that were saying that abortion is okay. And ever since then, the only reason why it hasn't been overturned is because of that unsilent mass of people that apparently want to shout their abortion wherever they want to. You know what I mean? It's just crazy what this woman is coming out with and saying to children right now. Let's go on.
Have you ever been like attacked online by pro-life people?
Yes. But I don't call them pro-life, I call them anti-choice. Because who would disagree with that statement, right? Like being pro-life.
Yeah, like you want people to live their lives.
Yeah. To me, the phrase pro-life is propaganda because often the people that say that don't want to take care of people who have babies that they can't afford and then are totally poor. They want to deprive people of access to healthcare, and I'm just like, that's not, you guys aren't pro-life. I'm pro-life.
how can she honestly sit there and say that she's pro-life, that she's trying to change a narrative, trying to change the definition of who would be actually considered pro-life? She considers herself pro-life. First of all, you're pro-abortion, okay? Pro-choice, that's not a thing for that, okay? You are pro-abortion in that case. Pro-choice is choosing to use protection before you have sex, choosing to wait till marriage or anything, choosing abstinence or something, then choosing to have the baby and take care of it yourself, choosing to give it up for adoption, or choosing some other form of allowing this child to live and give it up for a life that it deserves, okay? Really, the most choice is involved in the pro-life movement, and it's just bastardized by the pro-choice movement or the pro-abortion movement. And in this case, her saying that she's taken a beating from pro-life people, at no point does a pro-choice person or pro-abortion person ever take as brutal a beating as someone that stands up for the life of a baby. And I would actually encourage you, okay, if you are pro-life, if at any point you're sitting there having a conversation with someone like this evil woman, she's evil, and they are spewing this type of stupid stuff at you and calling you an absolutely evil person that doesn't want women to have the choice of control over their own body and wants women that were raped to conceive a baby that they're going to hate and everything, they're going to come up with the most off-the-wall, obscure things. In majority of cases, you're talking about women like this who just didn't want to give birth to a baby and were reckless in their sexual behavior. All that stuff has already been said so far in this video. She was reckless with her sexual behavior and she just didn't want a baby at the time, right? If you find yourself in a conversation with someone that's advocating for all this kind of stuff and you start feeling bad about your own position and start questioning that, stop for a second, tune them out, tune all their craziness out, and just think to yourself this: should I feel bad about standing up for the life of a baby right now? Because that's what it comes down to. You are standing up for the lives of millions of babies. And if that makes you evil, then label me evil, okay? I stand up for the lives of babies. If you want to label me an evil person, I will proudly wave that banner. I want to save babies. I am evil, apparently, okay? Because that is what you're dealing with at this point. Was there anything else in regards to that? I don't know. Let's go on to the next one here.
Do you think it's possible to be anti-choice for yourself, but pro-choice for others?
Yeah, everyone has a different background with like faith and just how they think about the world, how they think about when life begins. Is it an arm? Is it a sea cucumber? Is it a baby?
Yeah.
We know that you think it's an arm.
Shut up, Mr. Sea Cucumber, all right? I brought you in here because I wanted to have a diverse group of kids that I was speaking to, but you've kind of outlasted your time. At this point, we obviously know that you're getting to kind of like that adult male stage there, and adult men aren't allowed to have an opinion on abortion because they're not the ones that are conceiving the baby. So once you played your part, you're kind of supposed to just sit there and shut up, okay? I mean, really, you know? Actually, I have a great response to that too. I am pushing my wisdom onto you as listeners to the program and everything on how to approach certain subjects and take a funny route with some of these things in serious conversations so that you can just stop their train of thought and make them hit a brick wall with it, right? So we've gone over a couple strategies on the clump of cells and everything like that. You're a clump of cells. If someone ever approaches you and you are a male and they say, you don't get to have an opinion on abortion because you are a male, you go, shut your mouth. I am identifying as a female today, and because of that, just for the duration of this conversation, I do get to have an opinion on abortion. That is using their own arguments in other areas against them in order to have a conversation with them, and that is another mic drop for you right there. So, little advice from me. You get to have an opinion.
At the end of the day, it's my body, and the idea that a group of like old white dudes in the government would tell me, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times some old white dude has told me how I should be, how I should look. And
yeah. I'm sure they're baffled by.
There it is, right? Old white dudes. It's just a bunch of old white dudes saying that we can't be doing things. And it had to be the narrative that comes up because it always comes back to just old white people in the government that are getting their say over you, right? So let's go on to the last part here. It's unfortunate it's coming to an end.
Is it weird, like, being defined by this one thing that you did?
It feels like I'm like living my exact right life. God's plan.
Yeah. Drake.
Okay, so this woman is actually saying that it's God's plan that abortion exists and is used. No, it's evil, okay? It is evil what she's doing here, which is There was a point in time, and it wasn't too long ago, I would even say at the beginning of Obama's term, when Obama came out in the primaries and said that he was pro-life. I'm pretty sure he said he was pro-life. I think Hillary Clinton said it too. That there was a certain amount of, I don't want to say shame. I think shame is the word, but I want to at least say privacy that was involved with abortions and everything. Like, you had an abortion and you at least kept it quiet. It was your choice. We get it. It was your choice, but you kept it quiet because there's a certain amount of a stigma that should go along with that to say, okay, I felt like it was something that was a necessary evil at the time that I had to go through with, but I need to push forward with life for whatever reasons, whatever those reasons were for you. I completely disagree with that line of thinking, but that was the way of going about it not too long ago, right? This whole movement now of people like this with this whole hashtag shout your abortion campaign and everything, that is absolute evil. Okay, to go out there and push it even further than what public education is doing in regards to teaching it as just another form of birth control and everything, to push this on the people as, you know, not only should you get abortions, but you should be happy about it, you should be proud of it, you should be waving a freaking banner out there like Mel Gibson and the Patriot, except instead of old Betsy over your head, you should be waving an abortion flag over your head and everything, and just publicly displaying, yes, I killed a baby in my womb, right? That is a level of sickness that we have gotten to in our society. That is where we have come to. And it's really unfortunate. She talks about the first question in this video, in that portion of the video, was actually, how does it feel to be basically labeled by, and what is the word that they use? To be identified with a single action that you are, that's you, basically, right? I forget the damn word. But anyway, in regards to that, it's basically this kid is asking, the pro-life movement has made you the shout your abortion campaign person because you had an abortion. How does it feel to be identified that way on that single issue and everything? The completely wrong mentality of thinking. I as a pro-lifer never knew who she was before this stupid crap that she's trying to pull here. So it's not the pro-life people that are labeling her as this. It's this evil woman who has taken it upon herself to campaign out there on the idea of shouting out your abortion and representing people that have had their abortion and trying to encourage people to revel in it, to celebrate abortions and everything. That's not only is it the level of sickness I was just talking about before, but the only people that should be celebrating abortions is the abortion industry that actually profits from doing these things. Not only are they profiting off of every abortion that's performed, but they're also getting government funding on top of it as well. So they're getting paid by the taxpayers that a good portion of them disagree with what they're performing there, on top of getting a profit from having the abortion, and as what's that network? Project Veritas recently pointed out, also profiting from selling the baby's body parts as well. So that's this campaign that they're currently going about with, where an activist is talking to children about abortion and trying to get them to go along with it. Okay, let's take this a step further, though, because on top of that, this is actually a local story here to Pennsylvania. It says a court rules that mother's drug use in pregnancy isn't child abuse. So this is according to WFMZ, and it says in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's highest court says mothers who use illegal drugs while pregnant can't be considered perpetrators of child abuse against their newly born children under the state's child protection law. The court's main opinion issued Friday says that the law's definition of a child doesn't include fetuses or unborn children, and it says victims of perpetrators must be children. Two justices who dissented say what should matter is when the injury manifests itself, and that can be after the child is born. The case involves a child who spent 19 days in Williamsport Hospital last year after birth, being treated for drug dependence that caused severe withdrawal symptoms. The mother's lawyer calls the decision a victory for public health and the rights of women and children. First of all, I pray to God that that child was taken away from that so-called mother, okay? And what's the saying? Like moms and fathers, mothers and moms and mothers and dads and fathers. Like anyone can be a dad, but it takes a true person to be a mother or a father. This woman, they say, is the mother. It's the mom, okay? It takes a lot more to be a mother, and that's just never going to be the case for this woman. She has to have this child taken away. But let's go back to the whole. This ties actually into the whole abortion issue then as well, because what we have here is an inability for our court system and governmental system to recognize the importance and value of life within the womb. And if we can't do that in regards to abortion, then no wonder we're having such a hard time identifying this when it comes to anything else. If it's not a baby when it's in the womb, then the drug use that's affecting said whatever it is, clump of cells, if that's your argument, in the womb, you can't have that argument either, right? So are you going to take the position as a pro-choice, pro-abortion liberal that women should be punished if they're going to have a baby that comes out with a drug dependency because they abused drugs while the babies were in the womb? I would encourage you to look into what that actually looks like and what those babies are born with and the withdrawal symptoms and everything, and tell me that that's not child abuse. And if you think that that's child abuse, then you also need to go back and reconsider your whole abortion argument on when life begins and when the baby in the womb is considered a baby, right? This all ties into each other. You can't be a hypocrite on both of those. Let's see here. Yeah, Eric said, time to cut the funding. That's absolutely right. He said, working with folks with developmental disabilities, have you ever seen or met someone with fetal alcohol effect? It is clearly abuse. As a matter of fact, I believe I graduated from high school with someone that had the fetal alcohol effect, and it's sad. He became a functioning adult, but it's almost like it's a heavy disability to burden. I mean, the guy's going to be living, I believe, with his parents for the remainder of their life and everything. So that's pretty sad. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Okay, so that's the court system for you, unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, going along with it. It looks like this week I'm going to have a lot of editing for my videos to beep out all the curse words and everything, but this is according to Fox News. Someone caught some audio of comedian Louis C.K., who I personally really enjoy. I went to one of his shows where it basically, almost right off the bat, started with a joke about abortion and everything in the military, and it was pretty screwed up. But, you know, someone messaging me here? Anyway, he was caught on audio recently it says, according to the headline here, Parkland shooting victim's father slams Louis C.K. for mocking survivors. Now, Louis C.K. has actually been out of the spotlight for a little while as a comedian because of the Me Too movement. So this guy just keeps on falling into it, and he's a progressive liberal, okay? But as a comedian, these comedians are supposed to have a leniency when discussing serious life topics and being able to attack them comedically and make jokes of them to make you think a little bit deeper on the issues and everything. Jerry Seinfeld refuses to go onto college campuses anymore because of the snowflake culture. You can't make jokes anymore without offending people completely, right? So Louis C.K., as a progressive liberal, he fell into this whole Me Too movement trap and everything, and he got in trouble and went dark for quite a while because of his Me Too situation. And that was, is gross. He was asking women behind stage if they would allow him to masturbate in front of them and watch. Okay, that's gross. That's really gross. But here's the problem: these women were giving him permission. So in a sense, the only thing he was doing wrong was the act itself. But he got it's such a screwed up situation. I don't think he falls into that category itself of doing anything wrong because he got their permission to do it. It's their fault for actually giving the permission to do it, for crying out loud. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. He's back now in the spotlight. Someone caught audio of him actually joking about Parkland survivors. I'm interested in your take, and I know I have a couple people here that are getting involved in the comments and everything. Excuse the language again. I'll beep it out in the final version of the podcast, but let me know what you guys think of this audio and if you think he was wrong to actually joke about this.
I'm a little disappointed in the younger generation, honestly, because I'm 51 years old. And when I was like 18 to my 20s, I mean, we were idiots. We were getting high, doing mushrooms and shit. And then older people were like, you gotta get your shit together. And we were like, yeah, you. And I was kind of excited to be in my 50s and see people in their 20s and be like, they're crazy. These kids are nuts, but they're not. They're they're just boring. Telling them, you shouldn't say that. What are you, an old lady? What the are you doing? That's not appropriate. You're a child. Why are you finger each other and doing jello shots? Like, why aren't you? You should address me. They're like royalty. They tell you what to call them. You should address me as they, them. Because I identify as gender neutral. Oh, okay. You should address me as there. Because I identify as a location. And the location is your mother's. It doesn't have to be that nasty. But it can be. I don't know, they testify in front of Congress, these kids? Like, what are you doing? You're young, you should be crazy. You should be unhinged. Not in a suit saying, I'm here to tell you. You're not interesting. Because you went to a high school where kids got shot? Why does that mean I have to listen to you? How does that make you interesting? You didn't get shot, you pushed some fat kid in the way, and then now I gotta listen to you talking?
Like I said, I'm interested in hearing what other people have to say about this, but I thought it was really funny, except for the language, of course, obviously. But what he's saying is in regards to the identification, gender identification culture and how silly that is. But then he goes into the Parkland stuff, which was the main crux of what everybody was arguing about, which is, why do I have to listen to these kids go testify in front of Congress just because they happen to be in a school that got shot up? What makes them interesting? What makes them professionals or experts on a situation at all, right? It goes back to what I've always said before. I survived cancer almost a decade ago now. At no point in time will you ever catch me walking into a hospital, barging into a room where a doctor is discussing treatment options with a patient and going, excuse me, let me just take a look at your board right here for a second. Oh, okay, cancer. Well, I had cancer, so that makes me an expert, and I believe that we should do just 1 round of chemo and 20 rounds of radiation, and I want you to pop a couple of these pills. We're going to put you on some Vicodin and Viagra just to have fun with it and everything, and come back and see us in 6 months if you don't mind, right? Just because I went through something does not make me an expert on the subject or topic at hand. At no point in time will you ever catch me doing that. Same goes for this. Now, he made it a joke as in regards to what makes you, why do I have to listen to you just because you threw some fat kid in front of you to save your life and everything. He was making joke of a serious situation to make you realize this stupidity level that we've come to in this country with the debate on who we're supposed to take seriously as a country for policy issues and how our policies are molded in our society and community and everything, that we are now going to the level of taking the advice of teenagers that know nothing of the real world, okay? They survived a situation that's horrible, right? But I'm not going to take, no offense to the military members or anything like that, I'm not going to take the lowest ranking member soldier on a battlefield and appoint him to Secretary of Defense because he's been in the battlefield or anything like that. I want someone that's worked their way up through the ranks and developed this intelligence and wisdom based on a situation and experience that goes along with it to actually appoint them as a general or something like that to it. We're listening to kids. And that's the whole argument of the joke right here with Louis C.K. I think it was a completely appropriate joke. Eric happens to agree with me there as well. And yeah, it's just insane where we're going with these things. Okay, let's see here. We've been going for 2:16. We might skip over a couple things. How about this? This is according to rare.com or rare.us, sorry. A new challenge has teenagers boiling tampons and pads to get high. So the same people we're looking to for policy advice on school shootings and everything are the ones that are taking tampons and pads and boiling them and getting high. Oh my gosh. Teenagers these days are so hard to understand that it sometimes hurts my brain. Absolutely. It's like we can't keep up with the things they are doing to get them that high that they want, literally or figuratively. In this case, it's literally, and it's gross, way too gross. You know how back in the day there was the Tide Pod challenge, the WhatsApp challenge, and the boiling water challenge? Well, now there's something called the tampon challenge, and yes, it involves feminine hygiene products. And I am questioning everybody's sanity at this point. Apparently, teenagers in Indonesia are collecting menstrual tampons and pads and boiling them, allowing the mixture to cool and then imbibing the resulting liquid. How exactly does this get them high? Well, the chlorine used to sanitize menstrual products is what gets them tipsy. There's a spelling mistake, that wasn't me. Giving them hallucinations, and it makes them feel like they are flying. That's what we're dealing with in today's culture. Yep. How about this one? Apple removes a Christian ministry app following complaints by LGBT activists. Yeah, the Christian apps, the ones that tell you to love your brother and sister as you do Christ, are the ones that we should be worried about. Apple removed a Christian Ministries app from its store after an LGBT group claimed it implied being gay was a sickness, according to a published report. A gay rights group, Truth Wins Out, got the so-called ex-gay app removed after it convinced the tech giant that the app was dangerous, bigoted, and hateful. The app falsely portrays being gay as an addiction, sickness, and sin, according to the group in a Change.org petition, which had a whopping 356 supporters, not 1,000, not million supporters, 356 total supporters. Congratulations, Apple, to bending to the whim of a extreme minority. Living Hope Ministries of Arlington, Texas, told the Christian Post in an email that it was disappointed, but it will continue its work. We are saddened by Apple and Microsoft's removal of our app because of a single person's false accusations. Regardless of their decision, we will continue to make the app and our services available to those who seek them, just like those who seek Christ. Remember that. That was the executive director of the ministry. We are a ministry that for nearly 30 years has helped individuals resolve their feelings they deem incongruent with their faith. We help people deepen their relationship with Jesus Christ through Bible study and accountability. We walk with them to align their lives with the teachings of Jesus Christ. Through support groups, they realize they are not alone and are able to share honestly and openly in a non-condemning atmosphere about their struggles, passions, and victories. From chaos and confusion, they often find peace, hope, and a deeper sense of personal wholeness. Our ministry is free and strictly voluntary. That's the most important part that you're going to want to take away from this, is the fact that this is not an app that is being forced on people. This is an app that's sought out by people in the LGBT community that feel that their faith doesn't align with their sexual habits or desires, and they want to correct that themselves. This is not the same thing as what you heard of. What did they blame it on? Mike Pence or Michelle Bachmann? Michelle Bachmann, who they said her husband is brainwashing people into not being gay and everything. But the fact of the matter is, if you feel like you have something wrong in your life, no matter what it is, and you seek help for that, is that brainwashing someone? If they feel like they are seeking out treatment to get over a certain habit or anything like that, you may disagree. You may think that being gay or a lesbian or anything like that is inherent, and you may be right. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going into that stuff. You may think it's wrong that they seek treatment for that, but again, if you're pro-choice, isn't it the choice up to the individual on whether they seek out that kind of treatment for what they deem their own sickness? This is a voluntary app. Eric says, censorship, nothing more, nothing less. Tolerance is as long as your beliefs align with theirs. Absolutely right. Let's see here. Let's get into education. Florida school drops Common Core and soars to #1. This is according to neonnettle.com. A school in Florida has soared to the #1 position in the state's top school list after it ditched the Common Core program in favor of traditional teaching methods, according to government statistics. The charter school Mason Classical Academy in Naples, Florida, decided against forcing kids to learn using the Common Core method of teaching endorsed by the Obamas. Teachers at the school rejected the Common Core state standards initiative due to the way it deliberately dumbs down children, creating unnecessary and complicated techniques for working out relatively simple problems. Natural News reports they have rejected the backward approach of Common Core, which sees kids memorize entire words in kindergarten before later being introduced to phonics once they are in elementary school, which is exactly what happened to my daughter. I taught her phonics and she started reading at a 5th grade level in kindergarten, and the teacher didn't know how to classify her with the other kids because they were yet to do anything in regards to phonics. Let's see. What does the classical approach embraced by the Academy entail? According to their website, language-focused learning based on written and spoken words makes the brain work harder to convert words into concepts, while image-based approaches encourage passivity. Yeah, that's it. Okay. The time-tested approach of phonics is very likely the reason you are able to read this article in the first place, unless you get passivity. Passivity as the word that you're trying to get through there. Fell for it twice, damn you. And it's hard to imagine why anyone would consider it inadequate. So, school gives up Common Core, they're soaring to #1. That should be a sign to the left that Common Core has its pitfalls, and that should at least be investigated. That's all I'm asking for, right? Common Core. If Common Core was just another tool in the toolbox as far as how kids learn, if little Johnny over there learns best by using Common Core, God bless him. Let him use Common Core. If Susie over here learns best by the traditional method of math and everything, and she gets the right answer, let her use it, right? But we are living in a society right now that the federal mandates require that it's not a tool, that it is the way, that it's the only way, and if you don't use it, you get docked points. As a matter of fact, you could use the method and get the wrong answer and get more points for the wrong answer as long as you show the procedure than if you get the right answer using the old method. You get more points for the wrong answer. And if that doesn't show you how ass backwards this whole education process is, I don't know what would point it out to you. Keeping with education here, this is according to the Libertarian Republic. It says the booming job market is leading teachers to quit at record levels. The booming job market, Eric, if you're listening yet, right? Under Trump, is causing teachers to quit at record levels. It says public education employees such as teachers and janitors are quitting jobs in record numbers, an uncommon trend in a profession that often rewards longevity, according to the Wall Street Journal. So it may be the Libertarian Republic, but this is actually coming from the Wall Street Journal. It says many industries in the past year have seen a historically high rate of workers quitting. A tight labor market and sluggish wage growth are making job transfers less risky and long-term unemployment less likely for most Americans. People working in the public education sector are still less likely to quit their jobs than the average worker across all industries. Roughly 0.8% of public educators quit in the first 10 months of 2018 versus a rate of 2.4% across the American workforce in 2018. So it's increased. The rate of people quitting public education positions has nearly doubled since 2009, however, when jobs in the steady field were prized and the unsteady labor market rocked by a recession. The current rate of quitting is also at its highest since the Department of Labor began tracking the stat in 2001. So, it goes on and on. You can actually read the whole article if you want. But my whole thing on this is I have personally, while we were talking earlier about the fact that I was on the school board at one point in time and everything, I would talk to past educators that I personally had that have a liberal stance that said that the new way of doing things with the state standardized testing, the Common Core, and everything else that's mandated on them has made their job so difficult that when they used to quit working on student papers at the latest at 9 o'clock at night, is now seeing them working until midnight. And sometimes they don't even finish it. And they're really upset by the fact that there's a disconnect between the old force of teachers and the new force of teachers that are coming into it, because the teachers that are entering the field of education now are already indoctrinated into the line of thinking for these things, and they're used to it right off the bat. They're used to the Common Core approach to everything, and so they have no problem. But it's the older generation of teachers, or the last generation of teachers, that have to get involved in that switchover of education, that actually see the dangers, because it's throwing the frog into the boiling pot, right? The boiling pot being all these federal mandates of everything. The frog being the old force of teachers. They get thrown in, they're like, no, there's something really wrong with this. The new force is the frog that slowly boils in the pot and don't realize that they're killing themselves with it. So beyond all the Common Core state standardized testing, the fact that teachers have now done less in regards to freely teaching their subjects and making it interesting, and are now have become more of a Google search result, spitting forth information that you're just supposed to parrot back to them, and having to keep up with the standards of everything, not leaving that much time for teachers to creatively teach and everything anymore, is probably one of the main reasons. But when you couple that with the fact that we have a booming economy and more jobs are available than people are available to fill those jobs, obviously you reach a point where you seriously look at it and you think, my word, I am stifled in this position here as a teacher. I have to depend on steps and columns to achieve a pay raise. And in the meantime, the public sector is doing great. There's a lot of jobs available. I might as well just take my experience and go out there. Why be in such an oppressive nature of an environment for education when I could just go out and get better results out there? That's just my opinion, though. How about this one? Okay, let's see here. I'm not going to cover that story today. Or these. Last one before we get into politics. This is a video that was put together by a comedian because of our outrage culture and what's been going on and people being fired for past tweets and everything. James Gunn being one of them. He was a director, but just people going back and looking through the social media history of people just to find ways to go against their employers to get them fired. So this is a comedian tackling this and his thoughts on it.
Michelle, could you get our new graphic designer in, please? Hey, boss, you wanted to see me? Yes, hello, Kevin. Take a seat, would you please? I need to talk to you. Oh, no, not this one. At the end of the table. All right. Okay. Kevin, you were recently hired as a graphic designer to represent our company, is that correct? Yeah, and I've been doing great work, haven't I? Yes, Kevin, you are undeniably one of the best graphic designers in the world right now. Thanks. But something has come to my attention which, quite frankly, I'm disgusted by. And we do need to talk about it. We found your Twitter account. Oh, is this about me retweeting K-pop fan edits? No, Kevin, that's fine. The problem is, when we hired you, a BuzzFeed journalist found your Twitter account. And they sent us screenshots of you posting other graphic design work from 10 years ago. And it wasn't very good. I'm sorry, what? Kevin, I've been sent multiple screenshots of your graphic design work from 10 years ago. And quite frankly, looking at it now, by today's standards, it's unacceptable. But I didn't work for you back then, and I didn't make any of that stuff for you. I was learning graphic design. Of course I wasn't very good. It was a long time ago. It doesn't matter how long ago you made it, Kevin. The problem is, it's offensive. Offensive to you? No. Offensive to who? People on Twitter. Do any of them work here? No. Are they graphic design experts? No. Are any of them clients? No. So why are we listening to them? I have absolutely no idea. The point is, Kevin, I'm going to have to ask you to issue a public apology for the bad graphic design you released more than a decade ago. If you can't do that, you're gonna have to pack up your things and go. Wait, are you trying to fire me because 10 years ago I wasn't very good at graphic design? Yes. Even though today I'm good at graphic design? Yes. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense, Kevin. People are offended. But I haven't done any graphic design work like that for 10 years. I've improved. I'm a better designer. I'm a better person. Isn't that what Twitter wants? I've got no idea what they want, Kevin. I just do exactly what they say. Now issue the apology or you're fired. Okay. To anyone that I disappointed because they found out that I wasn't as good at graphic design 10 years ago as I am today, I'm really sorry. Is that all right? Well, it's not up to me, Kevin. It's up to Twitter whether or not they accept that apology, so let's have a look. How do they know about this? Oh, I forgot to mention, we're actually filming this entire conversation. There's a camera over there, there's one over there, and there's many in the roof. Okay, well, what do they think? Well, most people actually think the entire controversy itself is bullshit and you shouldn't be in trouble, but those people don't really matter. What really matters is 3 people who have blogs say that you didn't mean the apology, so you're still fired. I'm still fired? Also, a lot of people seem to be offended by this sketch in general. Really? This sketch? Yes, they're saying that this analogy is a bit of a stretch. Well, I think it's pretty good. Also, some people are mad that there are only straight white men in this sketch. Well, technically, there's only one straight white male. I mean, we're being played by the same person. That's a good point. Michelle, could you come in here for a moment?
Yes, boss?
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, that about wraps things up. Thanks for coming in, Kevin. Sorry about the whole firing you thing, but the blogs have spoken. Oh, well, what about that guy? Huh? I mean, he's literally drawing a swastika in MS Paint. I mean, that's not good graphic design, and it's really racist. Oh, no, that's John. That's John. He's an executive. We're allowed to be racist.
So, just mocking the outrage culture on social media and bringing it to an extreme by using simple examples of graphic design versus the actual jokes that comedians tell and everything. So I thought that was a really good analogy and way of showing that. So that is that. So before we go on into the political topics this week, with the Relic Hunter firearm partnership that we've been going through over the last 4 weeks with everything, we have spotlighted some firearms over the last couple weeks, including the 6-hour MPX, the Glock 19X, and the FN57. This week, we're actually going to be taking a look at the shotgun, a semi-automatic shotgun, and Gerard's going to run us through that. So when we get back from that break, while you're watching that, we are going to go into some more political topics then. So stay tuned and check out how you can get a discount on this firearm if you actually go into Relic Hunter Firing Line and talk to Gerard and his staff about how you saw this on the podcast, and you will get a discount on this firearm then.
Hi, I'm Gerard Stetzelberger, Relic Hunter Firing Line, 4671 Egypt Road, Copley, PA. We're located north on 145. You can locate us on the internet at www.relichunter.com or find us on Facebook at Relic Hunter Firing Line. Hi, this is Gerard with Relic Hunter Firing Line. Today we're going to examine and shoot the SRM M1216 semi-auto shotgun. This gun is kind of unique. It has a 16-round tubular magazine and is semi-auto. To operate the gun, you have a magazine that you start with. Load it with 16 rounds. There's 4 different tubes. You could put different ammo in each tube, however you like. Loading is simple. You're ready to go. The bolt will close. And you get 4 semi-auto shots out of each tube, and then you can switch to the next. Has a threaded barrel. You can put a breacher tip on. You can put sights or some sort of red dot on top. The back has a pretty strong pad, which you may need. The SRM M1216. Let's go shoot it.
All right, Gerard, this is it.
How's it going, Chris?
We're about to blow some stuff up here.
Yeah, we are. This is the SRM M1216. 16 rounds of 12 gauge double-aught buck in a tubular mag. Semi-auto shotgun. Well, it's 12 gauge, so let's see what we can do.
How many does this hold, by the way, in each barrel?
4 in each tube.
So
you've got 16 total.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Ready to rock and roll?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. This is pretty BA.
Yeah.
Definitely had some kick to it.
Yeah.
Which was fun. But at the same time, I found my experience with 12 gauges to kick up.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel that with this.
No,
it was
I
more
didn't either.
kicking into you.
Yeah.
You know?
Straight back.
Yeah. A lot of fun to shoot. At first, it's kind of like you said, aim a little bit lower than what you're going because you're not looking down any sights necessarily on this one.
Exactly.
But I was aiming at the belly, and I actually hit the belly. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Why don't you hold this for a second?
Sure.
So what do you like necessarily about this one then?
What I think is pretty awesome about this gun is that it's got 16 rounds of semi-auto, and you can switch the magazine. So if you want capacity in a 12 gauge or something that you could use for a defensive weapon, 16 rounds of 12 gauge with the ability to switch out to another tube mag and have another 16 rounds is kind of incredible.
So I think the kind of cool thing about this is, I mean, kind of like you said in the introduction video, if you want to load up each of those barrels of that with buckshot, slugs, any other type that you want and everything,
Absolutely.
essentially, if you wanted to like get the Cerakoting stuff on it, you could actually label those barrels according to what you want, so you know that what you're cycling to.
I'm hearing you, brother.
Oh, absolutely, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
So this is what we had between the two of us here. I don't think you made it out.
No, no, there's a lot of missing parts.
All right, Gerard. Well, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. Hey, Chris, Gerard here from Relic Hunter Firing Line. We are big supporters of the Second Amendment, and with the responsibility of firearms ownership comes training. And we focus on training here at Relic Hunter Firing Line. Because of that, I'd like to introduce Maureen Jory, our head trainer.
Hi, I'm Maureen Jory. Everybody calls me Mo. I'm the NRA Basic Pistol Instructor here at Relic Hunter Firing Line, and I am able to give you a 10-minute lesson if you need just a refresher class, a half-hour lesson, an hour lesson. I can do group lessons. We do classes here, including a new shooter class where you can just get your feet wet, or NRA Basic Pistol class, which comes with the certification. We have a fun ladies' night going. We have a gun cleaning class and a move and shoot tactical class. So there's a class for every person out there, whether you're a beginner or an expert shooter and just need a refresher class. Here at Relic Hunter Firing Line, we like to have the responsible gun owner understand how to use their firearm safely, accurately, and morally. Everything we teach revolves around those three things.
Okay, so the SRM 1216 semi-automatic shotgun is available now if you go into Relic Hunter Firing Line. That's in Copley, Pennsylvania. I don't know what the rules are on ordering through the phone or anything like that, but if you're out of state and you want to call Relic Hunter, the phone number was on the video. You can always look them up as well. I would encourage you to go over and like their Facebook page and their social media accounts. I believe they're also on Instagram as well, because I've tagged them on there a couple times. I will make that video itself a segment available on my YouTube channel, along with all the other ones that are currently available, and tag that for use for Relic Hunter. But the point is, Relic Hunter has teamed up with us here at the Generation Y Conservative Podcast to allow you as a consumer to get a discount if you're a Generation Y Conservative listener. So if you are interested in this semi-automatic shotgun and it's up your alley and you want to load that thing up with all the different types of shots that you want, I would encourage it. It's pretty cool. Definitely one of the funner weapons that I handled while I was there, along with the FN57, which was incredible. But you can always head into Relic Hunter Firing Line, talk to Gerard, the owner, or any of his staff. Let them know that you heard about this firearm on the podcast, and you will be able to get a discount then as well. I don't know if the discounts are still available for the MPX, the Glock 19X, or the FN57, but those discounts and the length of those discount periods are up to Gerard at the store. It's just nice to have a partnership with him and be able to explore these types of spotlights on the firearms. So certainly head in there. It is a candy store for firearms, and if you're a gun person, head in there, because it's like, I don't know about you, but I used to play Call of Duty a lot and stuff like that. And when you walked into the armory and were picking out your weapons and everything, it's that kind of thing on the back walls. You could actually see some of them just behind Mo there, who I want to talk about in a second too. Just this large array of all these different types of firearms and everything, and it's awesome. So we'll see what we are doing coming up. All four of those were actually shot on the same day that we've covered over the last 4 weeks, and I'm going to get ready with Gerard to shoot the next couple. So we'll see what he has lined up. But certainly, if you're watching the podcast, under the video, let me and Gerard and myself know any of the types of firearms that you may be interested in him reviewing and shooting there that you might want a discount on, and maybe Gerard will listen to you. It's actually all up to him. I just go and do the filming and everything. So the only other thing I want to mention there is at the end of the video with Mo Gory, She is the tactical trainer that they have hired on full time now to do all those different types of classes. I personally took a training class, a carrying firearm class with her, as did my wife. My wife has attended the ladies' nights, and she has a blast with those. She actually brings girlfriends with her to those and everything. It's awesome. Mo is fantastic. She only comes up to my chest, but she'll teach you things that some of the guys there at the store themselves will tell you they can't teach you. So if you are looking to be a responsible firearm owner, I would actually encourage you to not only purchase a firearm from Relic Hunter, but to also go and talk to Mo as well, because she's a great instructor and will really take care of you. And the great thing about her too is she recognizes you every time you come in after that then as well. So that's Relic Hunter Firing Line and the discount that you can currently get. Okay. There's just some things I just don't want to go over because we're running out of time here. Yeah, we're definitely running out of time. How about this? Elizabeth Warren launches a 2020 Presidential Exploratory Committee in regards to running for president in 2020. So this is Senator Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, as President Trump always refers to her as. I'm kind of glad she's running. I have a couple liberal friends that are really excited about her running because they think that she's a prodigy of a political person, and that just shows why they are liberal and they don't understand anything. They have no common sense. They have no research capability or anything, and they go based on what the media tells them. But we're talking about a woman here who absolutely is scum. Her tribe is scum. And what we've gone through over the past couple of years since she actually was a senator, became a senator, is we found out that she has been identifying herself as a Native American, right? So when she got her professorship, I think it was at Harvard or something like that. It's one of those big universities up there or something. She put down, in order to have a more likely chance to be selected for being a professor, that she was Native American. And she thought that I think she actually thought that she could trace back her heritage to being in part Native American, because on top of that, around the same time, she also released, and this is not a joke, released a cookbook called Pow Wow Chow. And on top of that, so she does these two things, okay? Pow Wow Chow and identifies as well, she can identify as a Native American. I guess we can't really call her out on that. The DNA test might prove one thing, but obviously chromosomes can prove one thing too, and you still can identify as the opposite gender. So, but anyway, so anyway, she gets caught up in this whole thing. Pow Wow Chow, not only did she put together this book and identify as a Native American cookbook, but then it comes out that she plagiarized those recipes from some French person that does cooking out in France, and it goes back to that, and some of the things, it just didn't make any sense. So she got caught plagiarizing the cookbook. On top of that, people kept on calling her out saying, "You are not Native American. How can you claim you're Native American?" Some of the things she was saying is that she knows it because she has high cheekbones. So that's one thing. Then, after relentlessly taking this beating from Trump over the last couple of years about being Native American, he kept on saying, "I'll pay for the DNA test. I'll pay for the DNA test." And she kept on saying, "I'm not going to play into Trump's games or anything." I've mentioned this before. The reason why Trump is so successful with the media, the news media, is because he will throw something out there, a bomb. He's a bomb dropper, okay? He'll throw it out there. The news media will eat it up and spout off all this stuff, and then he'll prove them wrong. And it's his doing in the first place. He gets them to eat their own kind and put their own foots in their mouths over different issues. So in this case here, what we had was he kept on just beating into Elizabeth Warren about being Native American. And the best thing that she could have done, if there was any logical, common sense person that was an advisor to her, they should have been on her back saying, "Listen, Don't play into his game. Don't listen to him. Let it roll off your back like duck off of, or water off of a duck and everything. Don't even respond to him. Instead, she kept on getting angrier and angrier and angrier as the time went on. Every time he would say something about her being Pocahontas, taking the DNA test, she would become enraged. Her face would turn red. She would respond in the media. She would respond at rallies and stuff like that. She let it get to her. And that's exactly how Trump makes these news networks turn over on themselves and look like idiots. So what does she do? She takes a DNA test. And as Eric points out here, she came out to be 1/1000th of a 24th Native American. Okay? Fell completely into it. So this isn't even touching upon her economic and social policies, where she is a self-avowed socialist. Now, I know that Republicans and conservatives and everything get a lot of heat when they label a politician as a socialist, like Obama, even though he liked socialist policies. To call him a socialist when he didn't label himself as a socialist in most cases made us look a little bad, right? But in this case, she is a self-avowed socialist, much like Bernie Sanders. She says she believes in socialist policies and everything. So that, coupled with the fact that she is a bald-faced liar when it comes to her cookbook and Native American heritage, the tribe that she identified with, I think it was the Cherokee Nation actually came out and said it's an embarrassment and she needs to stop identifying as it immediately, or there will be repercussions, okay? So, is it a good thing that she's running? The answer is absolutely yes, because this is going to be one of the easiest targets in the Democrat primaries for Trump to take on. Okay. Oh, boy. I am not... Oh, good. Okay. This is according to the Daily Wire. It says California sheriff slams sanctuary cities illegal immigration after 7 more individuals are arrested in cop slaying. So it says 7 additional men have been arrested in connection with the murder of Newman, California police officer Ronil Singh for helping suspect Gustavo Perez Arriaga try to flee into Mexico, according to authorities. ABC News reports that Arriaga was hoping to escape back to his home country of Mexico with the help of his girlfriend, family members, and co-workers after he allegedly shot and killed Singh during a routine traffic stop in Northern California on Wednesday. That was last Wednesday, I believe. Arriaga was in the United States illegally. An undocumented immigrant with known gang affiliations, the 32-year-old Arriaga tried to flee to Mexico after his alleged crime, authorities said on Friday. The county sheriff, Adam Christensen, said that Arriaga crossed into Arizona from Mexico illegally a couple of years ago, and it is believed that he has been working on farms in California's Central Valley, according to ABC News. Arriaga had at least 2 prior arrests on his record, both for driving under the influence. When Singh pulled Arriaga over early Wednesday morning, it was because he suspected Arriaga of drunk driving again. And after a brief confrontation, which quickly developed into a firefight, Singh was killed. He leaves behind a wife and a 5-month-old son. Okay? So, this cop gets killed by this person who shouldn't even be in the country. And we're having the argument right now about a wall that has literally closed down a partial port of the government and everything. And as Eric just said it. Eric just said it. He must have seen my post on it. I said, if building the wall even saves one cop's life, isn't it worth it? Because isn't that the argument that we have from the left in regards to any of their arguments? You know, if banning guns can save just one school kid's life, isn't it worth it, right? So that's taking their argument and using it against them and everything. In this case, we are having this argument where the left is saying that all these people are only coming here because they're all really good people and they're all just seeking asylum from their crappy countries. Well, they won't say crap hole countries because Donald Trump said S-hole countries, allegedly, and they took offense to that. But now they're saying that they're trying to claim asylum, but who would claim asylum from a country that was good? It must be a crap hole country. So again, backwards. They don't backtrack their thinking and actually have any common sense to this. But we're having this discussion about good illegal immigrants coming into the country and claiming asylum because they're actually good people and letting them in, when we have a bunch of illegal immigrants that a portion of that, even just a portion, that last caravan that was coming up had 600 convicted criminals in the caravan, okay? I didn't go back and listen to it again. I didn't say 600 criminals, which is just a subjective look into it, and me basically saying that there might be about 600 people of that couple thousand that are in the caravan that might be criminals. They were convicted criminals within that caravan. So we were about to let 600 criminals that were convicted into this country and be perfectly okay with it. It's just absolutely crazy. And in the meantime, our citizens are the ones that pay the price for it through increased taxes for welfare and social programs and tuition programs and medical bills and everything else. And these are the same people that want to have universal education, universal health care and everything, and raise the taxes on us all astronomically, and then have open borders. Right? If you don't see how those two things conflict, then you have no way of logically thinking through anything. If we allow open borders and people to flood in here, and we can't know exactly who they are and they aren't documented here legally so that we can all pay our fair portion of taxes for a universal type system, then what you're left with is everyone that's here documented, whether you're, we're at this point, the majority of us are immigrants anyway, but legal immigrants, right? Then you're taxing all the citizens of this country completely astronomically to make up for the portion of people that didn't want to go through the process the right way. And in the meantime, you have more and more people flooding the border. And the only way that you can properly handle that is at 100% taxation, which only addresses those issues, doesn't even touch any other debt problem or deficit problem that we have in this country. And on top of that, as far as the medical industry is concerned and universal health care and everything, just if you were to take that and tax the rich at 100% and the majority of other people, it still wouldn't be able to pay for universal health care, as Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton and all these other goons have been saying. This is a proven economic fact, okay? Now, so there is a wife and 5-month-old son right now suffering without their father because he tried to do the right thing in pulling over a drunk driver that could have killed other people that was here and shouldn't have been here in the first place, now going through the holidays and every holiday going forward without her husband or his father. Let that sink in. The next time you want to have an argument about good people coming into this country and that there's no bad people within that, okay? Because if you're going to take the extreme position of that they're not all bad people and we should just let a flood of them in, and you're not taking apart and dissecting situations like this, there's something really wrong with you. Now, here's another one we talked about in the beginning about Chris Pratt. He's been brought up a couple times. He's a favorite actor of mine and certainly other people. Other people have joined in. It says, Chris Pratt tries to help California police find the cop killer and leftist attack. So he took this story and posted it on Twitter, and all he said was, devastating. Please share. I urge anyone with information to come forward. Please help bring this cop killer to justice. That is all he said, okay? At this point in time, when Chris Pratt posted this, the killer had not been found. They didn't know he was an illegal alien. They just had a picture of him, and the pictures were posted on this, and the left attacked him, right? So here is one of the guys attacking him on Twitter. Have you ever posted about police killing citizens, particularly black ones, also linking to Fox News? You SOB you, right? So that's one person. How about your use of lines like police killer in conjunction with a photo of a person of color criminal is adding to the fear policies that help excuse officers to kill unarmed persons of color. That's interesting. Keep that in mind for a second here. Chris, dude, it seems that you stray further and further every day into the Christian hardcore Republican area because he's supporting a cop that was killed and left a family behind. You will post about a cop killer, but I don't think I have ever seen you tweet about a dead black kid murdered by cops. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure I'll be told if you have. Okay. So here, going back to the person of color being the illegal alien, here's where the rubber really hits the road in this case. Here's a tweet in response to the whole situation. It says, saw this on Facebook, and as many are celebrating Christmas, some were making sure we could do so. Rest in peace, brother. This is another cop, Officer Morton. Unaware it would be their last together, Officer Singh would be shot and killed 5 hours later. Prayers for Newman police and their families. So this is a tweet showing a picture of Officer Singh and his wife and 5-month-old baby and their dog and everything in front of the Christmas tree. And it would only be 5 hours later after that he's killed. Guess what? Officer Singh is a person of color as well. So all these leftists go on this rampage against Chris Pratt for trying to find a criminal killer that turns out to be here illegally and shouldn't be here in the first place, and they attack this whole situation being that you're attacking a person of color when Chris Pratt is supporting a cop who is a person of color. It's so asinine where these arguments go for the left. It's unbelievable. But it gets worse. This is according to The Blaze. Facebook takes action against users for calling accused cop killer illegal immigrant or illegal alien. Amid accusations that Facebook employs secretive content policing strategies, which critics say disproportionately impact conservative users, the social media giant is now being accused of removing posts that describe Gustavo Perez Arriaga, the man police accused of murdering California police officer Ronald Singh, as an illegal immigrant. According to Blue Lives Matter, Facebook has informed multiple users that posts declaring Arriaga to be an illegal immigrant or illegal alien violate the platform's community rules for hate speech. Yes, using facts anymore is a level of hate speech. In one instance, a user posted a picture with Singh and Arriaga side by side. Above and below Singh's picture were the words vetted legal immigrant and protector, while the words unvetted illegal immigrant and murderer were above and below Arriaga's. So it was, Singh is a legal immigrant on top of everything else. He came into this country not only to live the American dream, but also took upon himself to be a public servant and serve the community, his community, and protect them from people like this guy who was here illegally and killed someone. So this guy came to our country to take advantage of the benefits of being an American citizen and living that life and respecting that life and not taking advantage in a bad way of the American life and lifestyle and economics and everything that goes along with that, and chose to serve his community as a way of thanking the country that he immigrated to. And this is what you deal with. So Facebook removed that photo and said this photo goes against our community standards on hate speech. So social media playing its part into filtering news into exactly what they want you to be hearing and not the truth. So unfortunately, the news in this day and age has to come from people like myself, just at least giving another point of view. I'm not saying, I always say this, I don't say that I'm right. I believe that I'm right, but I will not certainly declare it as being right. It's at least a different opinion and point of view than what you're getting out there from the mainstream media and social media platforms, which are now censoring true facts of stories and everything else. It's just disgusting. So anyway, I've gone my full 3 hours for my radio program, so I want to leave you guys with that. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you can always head over right now to the Facebook page, Generation Y Conservative, which is facebook.com/Generation Y Conservative, and hit like and get notifications so you know when we go live, so you can participate in the comments with the rest of the people there. You can also go to the YouTube channel, which I would highly encourage you to do. You'll see the podcast, gun reviews, and movie reviews there. It's youtube.com/Gen Y Conservative. And then also interact with me on Twitter at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end for that as well. Also, if you're interested in listening to the audio only portion of the podcast, you can always go to KLRN Internet Radio on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m. where they air me and listen there. And they've also been gracious enough to put me onto their podcasting platforms, including Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and more. Wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to them, just search for the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you joined me today. I know it was early for a lot of people, but we actually had more comments than usual, so maybe I should do it more in the morning. Have a great night, and God bless America.